Welcome, everyone. My name's Roger Sample. I'm sitting in for the chairman tonight as the vice chairman. So welcome to tonight's planning board meeting of Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. Are there any changes to the agenda? I guess we'll go with the roll call first.
Doug Brown.
Tom Divney. Mark Manning.
Christine O'Brien.
Nick Bonapane.
And Roger Sample. We don't need alternates, correct?
Bill and Lee are absent tonight. So you could appoint Christine.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll appoint Christine to fill in. Thank you, Christine. All right. I'll look for an approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I do have some additions to the agenda.
Oh, okay.
So for case P 2437, which is Walter Borowski, for the Walter Borowski Living Trust, he has requested a continuance to the April 15th meeting. Then case number P 2503, which is for changing seasons engineering for Richard Lundy. They have also requested a continuance to the March 18th meeting. I do have, in addition, under new business C, the board to discuss amending the August 20th, 2024 minutes. There are some potential name changes that need to take place. A second addition is under 3, it's 3B. Nope, scratch that one. That one went away. Let's see, correspondence for the board's information, number 4A. There's a breakdown of invoices from our zoning consultant, Tara Bamford. That just gives you an update on a balance. And that's it.
Make a motion, we approve the January 21st, 2025 agenda as amended.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Being said, we'll move on to case P 24-48. Prospect Mountain Survey.
Motion that we accept the application for discussion.
Well, second.
Any further questions? All in
Mr.
favor?
Chair, can I just clarify, is that you deeming the application complete?
No, I think we changed excuse me for responding to that, but I think we changed the rules on this. That we weren't going to accept them as complete, but accept them as complete enough for discussion.
That's for zoning board.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I would not do
Then
that at the
I'll
planning
I'll
board.
submit that. I'll accept that.
Yep. Put your other hat on.
Remove my comment and make a motion that we accept the application as complete.
You'll have to read second.
Oh, second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We hear from Mr. Zusko.
My name's Paul Zusko. I'm representing the Kennedy. I'm here to subdivide off a 7-acre lot off of a 180-acre lot. Going to be a shared driveway. The existing driveway is already there. we had to go to zoning and get a variance for road frontage because part of the road frontage for the big lot is in Gilmington. So this lot is right on the town line. So most of that road frontage is in Gilmington. The driveway is like right at the town line on Avery Hill Road. And then I've asked for waivers also for topo and of the big lot, wetlands. We did not delineate wetlands on the 7-acre lot. Majority of it is very good soil. There is some wetlands up in the upper left corner, but most of that is on the abutting lot.
If I would entertain the waivers before you guys go any further. Start on page 2 of the preliminary review. Actually.
The first waiver is what you just spoke of, right?
Or
Show the minimum contiguous upland area required by the zoning ordinance for each lot excluding jurisdiction of wetlands.
I asked for a waiver for the, not to do the wetland.
So that's what you just spoke. Share their thoughts on the waivers.
Trying to understand how much of the lot that's proposed to be split off is actually has wetlands on it.
You can see I did the NWI wetland up here in the upper corner. It
Yeah.
barely meets. And I did in my minimum lot, this soil right here is poorly drained soil. I didn't even count that in the lot size.
So
We're
it's
doing
only in
lot
that
line.
upper left-hand corner then.
Yeah,
That's it.
I only need 1.5 acres of upland to meet the regulation.
Right.
The 75% rule. It's lot 7 acres.
Should we take the levies one at a time as we see them? I see no problem with
I mean,
accepting the first waiver.
there's really no excessive slopes on that property.
Um, Basically, the second waiver is the same as the first, it's just the wetland buffer. They could.
Mr. Chair, then I'd make a motion that we move to grant the waivers as requested under the subdivision regulations.
I'll second that.
Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the driveway, as it enters 140 is totally in Gilmanton, right?
The what?
The driveway,
Driveway,
the parent driveway is totally in Gilmanton?
just the very entrance,
What's that?
just the very entrance. Once you get on it, then it's in Alton.
One side's right on the line and it look like moving this turn.
Says that all the acreage is in current use. Is all of it in current use?
Believe so. I don't know that for a fact. You'll have to take the 7 acres out, for sure.
Seven acres doesn't have to come out until the title is transferred.
Correct.
And maybe just to clarify for the driveway permit, there's no need for Gilmanton to be involved in this? This question to
I
Jesse.
contacted Bree at the
Right.
planning department. And she said there was no need to go to they probably already granted a driveway permit.
Or you just need to get it amended. You would just need to get it amended, that's all. There's an
For the two
existing,
lots?
yeah, right, for the shared driveway.
From Gilmanton?
No, from Alton.
Alt.
How can Alton amend it if it's in Gilmanton?
I'll double check that with
It would
Bree.
have to be Gilmanton that amends the drive. They must have been the original providers of the permit. So they would have to be the one to amend it.
I was going on the comments from the highway department.
But it would be Gilman. See questions about the narrative, but I'm not seeing the narrative. Okay. Oh, you got?
Yeah.
That accurate, 360 feet of road frontage in Alton?
For lots, for the 7 acre lot. And there's 49 in Alton, 152 in Gilmington for the big lot.
I think on the frontage issue, if you look at the language in the zoning document under definitions, it's unclear whether or not the 200 feet whether or not it's the lot that has to be in Alton or the 200 feet has to entirely be in Alton. It's just not well written, and it's been revised 6 times. So I think the frontage issue is almost a moot point. Frontage for both lots. Right, is that correct?
Yep. Just part of it's in Gilmington.
Part of it's in Gilmanton.
And the only place in your zoning is in definitions where it says it has to be in Alton.
But actually, right, but I actually, as you read it, it's unclear whether or not it says,
If you look under the zone, it just says 2 acres, 200 feet of frontage.
that's right, and
It
even.
doesn't say in the zone that it has to be in.
That's
Alton.
correct, and even the word defines the frontage in the zoning ordinance, the latest one of 2024. It's unclear whether or not the 200 feet have to be in Alton at all, but it is clear that the lot.
But it does
principle has
say
to be in
you
Alton.
either have to get a variance or you can get planning board approval, but we went ahead and got the variance.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to say that you're covered either way, but if you want to go do more, that's fine with me. So
Well, that was brought
the
up in
planning board
zoning.
approves it, I'm with you.
And he said, do you want to go forward and just, or go to planning? But then
Right,
I said, well, if we get turned down to planning, I'm gonna have to come back here anyway.
correct. Agreed. Driveway really isn't an issue for us, is it? Right, if it hits the road in Gilmanton.
Other than the fact that they need approval for the permit from Gilmanton, from what it sounds like to me.
Agreed.
The driveway permit.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
So kind of not our issue,
Excuse me?
not this board's issue.
Right.
Someone would like to make a motion on this case?
I would highly suggest opening it to the public.
It's a good idea. I'm new at this, new old. At this point, I'll open up to the public. To anybody who would like to speak on this case? Any no public comments? We'll close the public. And we'll ask if anyone would like to make a motion.
Okay, after due hearing, the Alton Board hereby approves the above cited application case P 2448 for Bruce and Victoria Kennedy for a final minor subdivision for a 2-lot subdivision of property located at map 7, lot 4, 597 Avery Hill Road, including the conditions as laid out in the planner review.
Is one of those conditions the approval for the driveway?
The permit,
Yep.
Right.
permit from the town of Gilmanton.
Yeah.
Correct.
I added that to, conditions subsequent. Obtain amended driveway permit from Gilmanton.
Anyone care to second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of this case, say aye.
Aye.
Case P 24-49. This is a design review. You have to accept a design review.
No, there is no completeness of design review.
Requirement to accept for discussion either, I would guess.
Say that again?
I'm asking Jessica, if there's a requirement to accept for discussion on this one either. Thank you.
Present your case.
Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, my name is Barry Geyer. I'm with Jones Beach Engineers here.
Interrupt you. There's a button right on the microphone. If you turn that, if it's green.
Switch on the back.
Oh, there we
There you
go.
go.
Okay,
There we-
sorry.
I'll start again. Thank you. My name is Barry Geyer. I'm with Jones Beach Engineers here for the applicant. Tonight, we're here for a design review of New England Luxury Collectibles, which is a storage facility proposed at 436 Suncook Valley Road. It's map 9, lot 6-1. With me tonight is Dave Fuller with the ownership group. The project is 5.5 acres in the rural zone. Property is currently undeveloped. It has frontage on Suncook Valley Road. The intent is to construct 44 luxury storage units in 7 buildings with a lounge area. It's to be completed in 3 phases. Each unit will include a bathroom with toilet and sink. Site will be accessed via card reader. Drainage, the stormwater is collected via a closed drainage system consisting of catch basin and pipes and a swale system. Stormwater is then directed to an extended detention basin and infiltration basin located on the east end of the property. Discharge is directed off-site through an easement on the property to the east. Stormwater at the entrance is collected and treated via treatment swale before being discharged along the southern property line. For the utilities, the project will include a small community water system to supply water to the toilets and the sinks. Site will also have a community septic system located in the center of the site. Buildings are designed to provide a New England barn look. Each unit will have, as I said, will have a sink and a toilet inside of it. Buildings are going to be 28 feet high maximum. We did look at traffic. This is a storage unit facility, which typically has very low traffic impact. Using the ITE, it indicates that it'll be less than one trip in the peak AM and peak PM hours, or a total of 18 trips per day is what they estimate. And that's about similar to a single family house, maybe a little bit more for the total peaks, but in the AM and PM peaks, that's typical of a single family home. We have received comments from the town planner. We didn't see any major issues. We're waiting for comments regarding the drainage from the peer review. We do need to clarify that there are no employees on site. These will be purchased units. What's labeled as the office on the plans is really the lounge for the unit owners to come and gather. And with that, I'll take any questions the board has.
So you said you were waiting on comments from the engineer?
Correct.
Okay, I got comments
You do
here.
have comments.
Okay.
I'll make a copy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I apologize, you didn't get these earlier. I did give a copy to Dave in the office. I just didn't email them back out to you.
Was there a prior conversation about I understand you telling me there were storage units, but wasn't the intent for these supposed to be for like small local businesses or something operate out of?
No, these are basically high-end storage units where you can come and, put a nice car. If you want to wash it, you got a place to wash it, or, if you want a nice train set, that kind of stuff. Basically collectibles is, what they're anticipating.
One observation I have is snow removal. Is it feasible? Looks pretty tight relative to the buildings there to find a place to put snow.
Yeah, I think we have sufficient location for snow, and you have the courtyard in the middle of the site too, which will be green space as well during, during the winter. But if there's insufficient area, we do have a note that it has to be trucked off to a disposal area.
One of the engineer's notes was 2 driveways, but I'm not seeing two driveways on this plan.
No, we're not, I'm not certain, but he may have been indicating there was two driveways previously. There's two driveways on the site currently. The proposed plan shows two driveways. Oh, no, that's, they're
Well, I'm
in
wondering
and
if
an out.
If it's
maybe.
the other, maybe perhaps the other site, the boat storage place, is that?
You may just be referring to the driveway for the boat storage that was previously approved. We have been in discussion with DOT regarding it and they didn't have an issue with it.
How close is the driveway to the high school?
I couldn't tell you.
Also, I guess I must have missed it going through it originally, but in your opening remarks, you mentioned that there's a meeting area in the.
Yep, and
What's the
building
meeting
number,
area?
the center of building number 1. So these are basically, the intent is to sell these, basically be condos. So if they want to have a meeting, they can have an area to gather and discuss the project.
What's in the meeting area?
Couches.
No kitchen or?
I don't, it's kind of potentially up to what the owners of the units decide to have in there. But really, it's, a couple tables and maybe a couple couches for them to gather.
So this would be structured as a condominium type of, with a homeowners association? So that's-
Exactly.
In term, can you build on the construction again, the phases, the intent?
Yeah, let me grab my. Just to clarify, the areas in, the buildings in brown will be the first phase. The buildings in blue, I believe, or no, I'm sorry, the pink buildings are in the second phase, and then third phase will be the blue building.
And the timing for those?
It kind of depends on the sales.
But the first 3 buildings would be in 2-year timeframe?
Correct. Yeah, I think their plan is to break ground as soon as we have all the permits in hand.
Is it just an issue with where it's located, but it doesn't seem to indicate the front building has any units in it? The other ones seem to have a number of units on it. Is that because it's all meeting?
Nope, the front building has 4 40 by 48 with one, what we call office. It's really the lounge.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Without going through the whole packet here, the septic system. Is that in this green space here?
Correct. If you look on sheet D4 or C4, sorry, do show a location for the septic system, which is in the green space behind building 2.
Okay,
And it's basically done kind of modular where we have the septic or the units, the buildings will drain to us, a common septic system for like every 2 buildings, and then it'll pump to the septic leach field, so that they can be constructed in phases.
has that field been designed?
We're working on, we don't have design in the package.
I would think that all those buildings will be a fairly sizable system, and I don't know.
Well,
I don't see any dimensions there, so I mean, because that's also the area where you're gonna run wheeled vehicles to pile snow.
the septic system isn't going to be very large at all because we're only talking toilets and sinks. There's no showers, no other use of water. So the septic system is going to be very small. But we will make sure that the location of the septic system and the snow storage aren't in the same location.
So there'd be no showers in that building where you congregate and things such as that then?
Any idea how far it is from the Eagles Way, the senior community? Far the driveway is? No,
I would think it's at least a quarter mile.
I was gonna say under a half for
yeah,
sure.
it's that far. Okay. How about to the entrance for the New England Electric? Sun Drive.
It's right there.
Right there, it's
Probably-
adjacent, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, maybe 150 yards.
150 yards. Okay.
And Overlook Properties would continue to manage this property once those condominiums were sold? Is that the intent?
It would go into a homeowner, yeah, we would, yes, we would manage the,
Just from the stormwater management context?
yes.
Have you talked to the abutter? I know this is just a review, so I'm wondering if you talked to the abutters.
I think we've discussed with some of the abutters.
Maybe as a piece of advice, maybe talk to the abutter that submitted the issue around the driveway. Prior to coming back.
Yeah.
We'll just reiterate regarding the letter that you received from the abutter. This is one of the lowest impact traffic wise that you can have. As I stated, it's basically the same as a single family house, which you could put on the site by right.
I mean, I only bring it up because this part of the requirement of this board is to take into account the
Absolutely.
feedback from the public and Wade.
Part of your design includes a cupola. Is that included with the total height?
Yes.
The planner review, just a heads up that there was mention 44 parking spaces, but they weren't delineated.
Yeah, these are storage units, so they are big enough for a vehicle. And if you look at the size of the parking or the pavement area, it's big enough to park outside of your storage unit. So we don't have delineated parking spaces, but there's more than enough area for the owners to come and utilize the space in front of their unit while not blocking anybody else. And, you know, the spaces, the pavement is large enough so that we could back a trailer or, you know, something with a car, it has to go in there. That's the intent. So it's oversized, but it provides for parking in front of their units as well.
Well, you've been through this, right? So there's no reason to, so you need a landscape plan, you need to figure out some sort of remediation plan for the runoff and all that.
Yeah, we have design for the stormwater. I did read through Ty and Bond's comments. I don't think there's any issues that we can address. As far as the landscaping, we do have a landscaping plan that shows landscaping. If the board wishes for additional landscaping, then, be happy to entertain that.
That first unit, actually, on either, doesn't matter which way you go, whether you go to the left or the right. It curves into the storage unit there. Do you know what the approximate depth is there?
I think that's over 20 feet
Over 20?
so that you can actually park right in front of your unit without blocking anybody else's.
Are they metal buildings?
We're in the process of figuring out if we're gonna make them metal or out of wood. But we're still gonna achieve the look of a New England barn. We're gonna side them, even if they're out of metal, we're gonna,
Okay.
they'll, all intents and purposes, they'll look like they would. They will have a metal roof.
Right.
Under the plan review, there's no floor plan for each unit.
We didn't include one when we submitted. Do have a since developed floor plan. Building that I have on my board is for the building number 1, which includes the lounge. And it's just typically you have a door, a man door and then the garage door with the bathroom in the back. And some of them have a mezzanine above as well.
So is that showing each unit will have a bathroom?
Each unit will have a bathroom.
Is
So if
each,
you want to spend your day building train tracks up there, you can, have somewhere to relieve yourself.
each unit has that wall pack? Is that typical? Little,
Sorry,
little lighting.
Oh, for the lighting,
Lighting,
not on every unit, I don't believe.
because that's a lot of lights. I didn't know if that was typical or maybe it's just a small light.
No, we only have them on certain buildings. A couple of them have 2 of them, but yeah. Just enough to light the area, not.
Probably see it
not-
up for yourself if I flip the page, right?
Right.
Come back, I think it'd be helpful if you do a snow removal plan.
Absolutely.
What was that?
Snow removal.
Oh, yeah.
You can just add that sorry, you can just add that information onto the site plan. Just that sheet would be fine.
Yeah, we do show some areas of snow removal, but we can expand on that. And we have snow removal notes.
I thought I saw it on one here.
Yep.
Earlier.
Just one other point to clarify relative to septic. There's no floor drains in each of the buildings.
Floor drains.
So probably also should mention that there is no living
Correct.
units.
These are not,
I mean, because if you got a couch, a sink and a toilet, that makes some people pretty happy.
Well, that's just the lounge that have the couch. Their unit, well, unless they put one in there, but yeah, this,
Oh, the individual units don't have a toilet?
yes, the units do, but the couch part of it, I
Oh,
mean,
well,
unless
anybody-
somebody
Anybody
lugged one
got a
in there.
couch?
see, these are storage units. That's why they don't have showers. It's or any other connections.
Well, we don't have any comments from the fire department, but would you anticipate automatic fire sprinkler system? And then how would you supply that?
Do we need sprinklers? I don't think we need sprinklers. We'll have to look into that. I don't think we'll have sprinklers, but we do on the prior project, the boat storage that's right next door. There was a requirement for the cistern. So that will be there to supply firefighting water.
It was shared.
Correct.
Anyone else with thoughts or discussions?
Is there any restrictions as far, you're saying storage, but if somebody wanted to do woodworking or something along the line, are any visions or restrictions for that?
I don't think they put together the HOA type documents yet, but the intent is obviously for the higher end storage. I mean, if they wanted to store their woodworking equipment there, I don't know that the intent is for them to be working out of that. Obviously, it's not a commercial spot, it's a storage area. So that would just have to be written into the homeowner's documents or condo documents.
Is there any intent to rent the meeting area? No.
Once the project would be completed, then the homeowners association would take the whole thing over and then they would manage, but the intent is not for it to be rented, it's just for their own use. Have lunch, whatever, meetings.
What about outside storage of like a vehicle?
No outside storage.
Can you put if I was a vehicle collector, could I put one inside?
Yes, you can put a vehicle inside, you can put, that's kind of what they're aiming for is that kind of collector that wants to put their vehicle in it. If he wants to roll it out and, wash the car or wax it on a Sunday, then that's fine. But the intent is, there won't be any outside storage. This wants to be, look really nice. So they don't want any outside storage, no RVs on site, none of that.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Like just, hours of operation.
Well, there's no office, so there's nobody there. It's a key card access, so 24/7.
But it's not business, so you're.
Yeah, it's not a business. Yeah, if some guy can't sleep and he wants to go visit his train set or whatever, he's more than happy to, I guess.
trains are a dying industry.
Yeah.
I have a friend that's into them. He's got all kinds of chains and he says, we're all 60, 70 years old. The kids don't collect them anymore.
Does he need a place to store them?
Sure, probably out already.
Yeah, you should see his basement. Did you have a question, John?
I did. So to clarify washing the vehicles, can you just clarify what that would look like?
Well, I believe they have water at the site or at each unit, so they could wash their car out front if they wanted to on a Sunday afternoon, I guess.
So would that need to go?
It sounds like it's getting into a wee bit of a gray area. Has,
Well, I mean, everything's got to drain anyway, and it's got to be collected, whether it rains and drains or whether you wash and drains. I guess it's just the idea, if there was soap in it, if that's an issue, I guess.
Yeah,
But it's,
we
everything is
what do we
being
all do
cleaned,
on our
everything's
own
being
driveways
cleaned
when
in
we
the
wash our
detention
cars?
pond.
yeah,
Correct?
and this is I didn't mention it, but it is a project that's going to alteration of terrain for an AOT permit. So the storm water all has to be treated and detained before being released.
That that retention pond or detention pond, whatever we're gonna call it today, that will remove soap.
I will look into that to clarify.
That's for my own interest. Any further thoughts or considerations? We've given them enough to go on here.
Looks good. Yeah.
I've seen other of its type and they're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would open up to the public.
Isn't this a design review?
Yes.
All right, well, we'll open it up to the public. Seeing no public, we'll close the public.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Now I see case P 25-01. The final major subdivision. Sugar Hill subdivision.
Yeah, you didn't even.
Discard this one.
So what I just gave you was the same plan review. It just has all of the pages instead of just the odd numbered pages.
Well, look on one page here. And I see the things required for an application. And it looks to me that the requirements have been submitted. Does anybody have a different comment on that?
Just to note that there's some waivers requested.
There are waivers requested, yes.
Well, we got to find some direction here.
Can I make a
So-
comment?
Well, I think that's your comment there, right? I'm getting to it. So we got the items submitted. Then we have to decide whether, do we need to look at the waivers before we could even consider those? The waiver requests. Or could we look at the waiver request after accepting the application? If we don't accept the application, everybody here tonight just goes home. So, which brings us to another issue. So I'm going to read this paragraph. Prior to the board determining whether the application is complete or not, it is my recommendation that the board move to a formal motion and vote to require the town engineer, Tig and Bond, to perform a detailed analysis at the owner's expense on the potential zoning issues that have been raised regarding the percentage of minimum contiguous buildable areas, setbacks, frontage, percent of steep slopes, lot size, and if there are any other issues that the board may find pertinent to address. So I have an opinion, and it's just an opinion. If the zoning ordinance requires such, they have to provide such. So when they put their plan, they pay the town engineer to review the plan. And that's when that could be determined whether the steep slopes, the this, the that is adequate. Rather than having them, the engineers go over this project before it's even started. by accepting the plan, they would have the opportunity to perhaps dispute the differences. I mean, I don't know.
I would tend to agree with you, actually, that the document was submitted as required. And I think, Jessica, we should I would guess that the protocol would be to accept the submission and then to discuss your proposal. Would you not agree? You would not agree, it looks like. Speak, please.
Can I speak? So if the board accepts the application as complete, the way I look at it is you are accepting what has been submitted is proper. There are potential issues with some zoning. So if you're accepting the application as complete, you're almost accepting issues with zoning.
I disagree. I mean,
That's why people go to the zoning board prior to coming to planning to get approvals, to sort things out. You may have a different opinion.
who was determined that that there is zoning issues? Who is it that's saying they have to go to the ZBA?
So upon reviewing the plan,
Who?
upon reviewing the plan, myself,
Okay,
viewing the areas that they have deemed the minimum contiguous buildable areas are located within setbacks. So they're claiming buildable areas within setbacks. In order to build within a setback, you need to get a variance.
well,
So by claiming you can build within that area is preemptive.
we could accept the application. We could hear it tonight, we're here. And we could send them to the ZBA. If we say, okay, this is what you got and we don't agree, I'll hear from you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, John Cronin for the record. Cindy Terrio, the engineer, is with me, and thanks.
I'll only hear from you, though.
Thanks for your time tonight. I'll stick to the procedural issue. It's our hope, and I know there's some unusual issues here that don't often come up, is that you would accept the plan for jurisdiction. We just presented to you, and we've heard about it in the tech review before, and Cindy can go over that a little bit. Some issues that Mr. Casali, through his engineer, raised in that process, and there's letters in the file. This contiguous area issue, including the setbacks. The entire lot width was another issue. There's a administrative gloss issue as well. We came up, reviewed some of the files. You've never interpreted this ordinance since 2007, to my knowledge, and have been presented with a file where you've deducted setbacks in determining contiguous lot area. But leave that alone. I think we've asked Ty and Bond to say, will you answer those questions so she can design it properly and we can make this smooth? And the gentleman from Ty and Bond says, those are really legal issues. I'm not going to get into that. It can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. So I'd rather not go into those tonight, just show you what we have. And I think Amy's goal here, if you folks say we're going to interpret it differently than the engineers have after all the work they've done, we probably would just consolidate lots and lose a few lots and keep going with the process to get it done rather than take another sidetrack to the ZBA. So if you accepted it, let us make our presentation. Maybe we can refer those issues out to town council, whoever you folks deem appropriate. Mr. Casali can file his papers. We can file our response. And then when you folks have the information that you need, you're ultimately going to have to make the call one way or another. If you don't open the case for jurisdiction, you're never going to be able to make the call. So I'd like to just keep it simple, tell you what we have. I know it's cold for site walk tonight, but there was mention the last time about doing a site walk. Jeremy did a great job with the drone video that's pretty detailed that maybe at the next meeting we can show and determine if that satisfies your concerns or if we need it, but
Bring it,
excuse me,
bring it.
bring it. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
cold and steep.
Yeah, I know I don't want to walk up it, so we just thought that may be helpful to do before the weather got severe, but just to keep focused, I don't think, and there's a case on this that says just because there may be required amendments to a plan, it's not a basis not to accept it for jurisdiction if the checklist is complete. And if you go through that checklist, it looks like all the information required was submitted, albeit with a couple of nominal waiver requests for scale and things like that. But I think we meet your requirements for completeness. And I don't think we even have to go into those issues with lot sizes, get you information you need from somebody else. We can all review it and make a determination if we need to consolidate a few lots or shrink a few of them.
In that, I heard Ty and Baum would not render a position relative to the dimensional waivers and the like. So,
Cindy spoke directly. I did not, but I heard it
Okay.
from Cindy. She had made that request. And I think in his report, he makes some reference to that. And in fairness to the gentleman from Ty and Bond, I think it's a pretty complicated legal issue that doesn't come up often in these when you're looking at the definition of a lot, a building site, what the health, safety, and welfare benefit is. Require you to have 60,000 square feet of buildable area where a 5,000 square foot house may make a 3,000, just doesn't make a lot of sense. So you probably, it's up to you guys, but if I were on a board, I would probably want some legal impact of my own and not listen to my
my
interpretation.
point to that though is with Jessica's approach wouldn't render any clarity on this then relative to engaging Ty and Bond. Then.
Yeah, so I'm slightly confused on that because I have an email from them stating that he wanted me to talk to the board about having them review some things.
Well,
So,
we've been
just a
working
little-
at this for a while. We just got that report, I think Thursday or Friday, but Cynthia can share what she had a discussion about and what the response to her was.
But you're talking about, you're going to try to convince us to believe what you're submitting over what the abutter submitted.
Correct. There's a conflict there.
And we know that we've had issues with clarity on some of the information that you submitted as being clear, like the road that existed. Are you sure you want to go there?
Not positive.
Okay.
And I don't know that there's anything too
Glossy?
unusual.
No, nothing. Or nefarious. I agree with you.
All right. Some suggestions from the board. We have two different directions we can go in. I would lean towards hearing the case. I think they deserve it.
Is that a motion?
Nope,
Just for,
that's just my personal opinion.
okay, I would support that opinion. Think that they've been diligent in trying to get this through the system and ultimately there are going to have to be legal interpretations on this no matter what.
It'll all come out in the wash. Would anybody like to second Doug's agreeance of
Opinion.
my opinion? Let's look for a moment. Tom?
No,
You're making the motion. We got two opinions. We're looking for a motion.
The motion would be to vote on completeness.
correct.
Okay. Uh,
Well, let's
I
be
think
true.
we're past completeness. huh?
oh,
We're past the issue of completeness. I thought we were dealing with Jessica's comment
No, we,
of whether or not it should be referred back to zoning prior to discussion.
Now, if we move on, does that preclude us to go to zoning?
No.
Doesn't.
And I don't see that it binds us to any submission. Anything they put forward, we're not bound to just by by accepting the application. They're now giving us their information. We're not bound to anything.
Jessica, what were you hoping of to get back from the process of going to zoning? Another assessment basically of what's buildable, right? And what meets the zoning requirement, the land.
What am I hoping? It's issues that have been brought up.
Well, it was last time for sure, and we discussed it, and the other butter presented his case as well.
Well, what came back from Ty and Bond when you had a discussion?
So the only thing that I have from Ty and Bond is their review of the drainage and stormwater.
So they didn't volunteer to get into the lot dimensions and.
No, because their
associated-
task order, it was specific for drainage and stormwater. That's something additional.
Well, likely their next order will read differently. We'll look for contiguous and stuff like that, and then they'll have to answer to that.
Yeah.
So. We're not taking public yet. I'll ask for a motion. I'll make the motion. I make the motion that we find this application complete and we hear it tonight.
I will second.
Any further questions, comments?
I asked,
You didn't hear what you said, Tom?
but that's what I asked before, and I said, we wasn't a motion. Oh,
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
I hear one no. Just one, all ayes, one no. Motion carries. A lot of submissions. Well, you heard a little bit about issues. Here to speak to them.
Sure. Again, John Cronin for the record. I don't know if you want me to summarize the project. It's detailed in the papers. I think you know from the plan set, its size, 102 acres and the history of it. So we won't belabor that.
I call for a point of order. You guys should really do the waivers before you get into the deep nitty gritty of things. I would,
Fair point.
thank you. Sorry.
We have a waiver for the road and driveway profiles.
Is it just one waiver and it has a few different parts? A, B, and the potential for additional waivers? So,
I think you need to take them one at a time.
well, I only see the one.
They're in the margins on the application. There's
There's two.
Okay, so
You
there
got
should
this
be,
one here, which is the,
Driveway profile.
which is that 40 scale versus 50.
Right.
And then you got four sections that are catch basins and bridges and culverts.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you get A and B. But down here, you
But
got
then-
potential for additional waivers.
Yes, those were additional waivers that potentially should be asked for after reviewing the plan.
So that's your input?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's not them asking for
That's what
additional,
they
that's
request.
you asking for.
Things. Yes.
Okay. It seems to me that the waivers that you're requesting, A and B, are to make the plans easier to read, and is that, am I
It's-
far off here on that, or?
well, essentially that's correct. And to reduce the amount of paper that we give you. The waiver for both of them adds multiple sheets to the already fairly large set. So, and to be honest, it's an easy fix. If you really want them to be done this way, we can do them that way in the next round of plans. But the waiver request was really just to make it easier for the board to review and not have a cumbersome plan set.
I like that idea.
I mean, there's more detail in what you provided, at least on the road and driveway cross section anyway, so I don't. I think the bigger question is Jessica's points.
Well, those are all gonna come in the process, I believe, because there's nothing outlined, they're just numbers.
Well, the first one though is a scale issue.
Yeah.
It was submitted at 200 feet. It should be 100 though.
And that would be the same
you can-
response. We can easily do a 100 scale plan for those 4 sheets.
Right.
It would just break it into 2 sheets instead of 1. So if the board prefers it that way, we're happy to do that.
Okay. And did you see Jessica's comment about lot ratios for lots 20-6 and 20-8 exceed the length to width ratios?
I did look at that quickly and double check it, and that will also be,
So that's to Roger's point, or it'll come out.
yeah, I believe it will.
I think all we can look at is the waivers that they've requested. I mean, we can request of you the other waivers, but you've asked for 2 waivers. That's what we need to decide on, whether we should vote on those. Any comments further down the board? With the explanations given? Okay with it. Then you'll give us a motion.
Give us a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept waiver. You know, there's no numbers on this, but the waiver request to accept the application. Documents that are scaled differently than what we usually accept.
A and B.
Okay. That's fine with me. We can add A and B to that.
For a second,
I'll second that.
any further discussion?
I have some discussion.
Okay,
So what you guys are agreeing to is an electronic set for Plan Set 2, which is 64 pages long. Where am I going to put that?
I withdraw my
I don't have, the town doesn't have a protocol for electronic documents. Just pointing it out.
Yeah.
I
will
thought
drop
you
it.
were.
Not that I want,
reducing-
it's
Thanks
not
for-
that I
thanks
want,
for- thanks for letting us hang.
You can say,
Jessica.
I don't want more paper, but we just, we just don't have a process for that.
Could we
You have
give
to
you
retract your-
a?
I'd like to retract.
Thumb drive?
Who's speaking? I didn't hear.
I'm
you.
sorry. Just potential solutions. We can provide one set for the town, or we
Just
could
one,
give you
just
a
one
thumb
set
drive.
for the
No?
file.
Yeah.
That
Just
would be
one,
helpful.
one set?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And then that way we just have it for the record.
Sure.
Is that,
I'd like to thank you for waiting until that occurred to make that.
well, I'm trying not to butt in,
Please butt in when it can help.
trying to let you guys do your job.
Okay. So you'd like to amend yours to,
I'd like to withdraw it, although what I'd like to do, so I'm not making a motion, I'll withdraw my motion. But I do believe we should go back to moving forward with what we have and maybe make a requirement of this, that you supply that information to Jessica ASAP under what time, of a time frame it's needed.
As soon as you can.
Yeah.
I printed out a smaller sheet so that I had something to look at, but
Okay. Absolutely.
that's fine.
Sorry for my confusion on that.
well, so now I'm confused. What are we doing?
Nothing yet. We need to make a motion if we're gonna
Okay,
hear the
so-
case or not.
So what we came down to is you're gonna make one set for us here at the board because it's easier to read. But you have to make another set for the final for the planning department because that, correct?
Well, yeah, when yes, they need to submit this 64-page set plan,
Jeff,
paper.
can you accept the thumb drive as electronic? or you
I
don't
have
wanna
nowhere to
read it?
put that. Like, we don't
Well,
have
that's
a,
what I'm asking.
yeah, we don't have a process for electronic documents. I'm just afraid it's gonna get lost.
Good point.
And you're not willing to redraw these in under what Jessica's required.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No,
she-
Of
she
course
did
I am.
agree.
Absolutely, I will.
Yes.
Could be a larger.
But it's just, it's a lot of paper. I'm happy to give
I
you
know.
whatever you guys want.
We could
need.
one copy and
Yeah, I don't need the 5, just the one
Right.
copy, please.
Yes.
With that offered, which I'm guessing we'll accept, and we've already accepted to go forward with the application as submitted for discussion. It's complete for discussion. Should we not move forward with what we got?
Yes.
So that means a motion for the waiver request still.
I have to redo your motion.
I'll redo my motion.
And include the one.
Yeah. I'd like us to accept
Mhm.
the request for waivers, A and B, with the requirement that the new round be submitted to Jessica by a paper, one copy at the different scale than what you've submitted.
Okay,
Did I get that right?
that's clear.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose?
Still no.
Waivers passed. Why don't you give us a little
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, as some of you know, this started out approximately a year ago. This piece of land that Amy Grimm, who's with us, has acquired. It's over on Cherry Valley Road. It has a peak that overlooks the lake and slopes back down to Cherry Valley Road where the access is. Initially, she had a dream to do an event venue there with some associated lodging. Went to the ZBA for that. There was some opposition to it, which in a lot of these cases, there are nothing new, but after hearing it and going through the process and hearing preferences for residential subdivision, she decided to go in a different path and design a residential subdivision. Cindy and her team got together and looked at the ordinance and drafted their preliminary set. We had a meeting with the town, probably late summer, with the town manager and some of the assistant. Jessica was out at the time, but we went through the details. No issue raised with setbacks or lot configuration or anything of that nature. I do recall there were some questions about frontage. The calculation of a few lots of frontage appeared to be short. There's also the DPW director was there and he had some concerns about the height of the covered bridge for trucks or plows or different maintenance issues, which all good points and good feedback. Cindy went back and developed her plan for 19 lot subdivision. We came here through a multi-step TRC type process. I think one of the biggest issues we had was regional impact at the first time. And then we came back and spoke about it. At that time, Mr. Casali, who is technically in a butter, but I think when you see the video, you're familiar with the site, will have no impact from any of the lots other than the two on the hill. It's quite a distance away, and these lots are on the other side of the slope that he seems to have issues with. But he raised the issue with respect to including the setback in the buildable area calculation, also stating that the ordinance required a lot width for the entire distance of the lot. Then a couple of other frontage issue on a couple of different lots. Cindy went back and looked at again with her team, reduced the number of lots that were originally applied for. So you have what you have in the application. Going back to zoning, I know that would be an option if you folks get feedback from your advisors and say, we agree with Mr. Casali that some of these lots are not compliant. I believe Amy's preference, and we might correct it in the process, would be let's consolidate lots and do what we need to do to make it work rather than go get a variance. I will note on that frontage issue, that was an interesting case in Gilmanton involving a different ordinance and different regulations don't necessarily apply to you. And generally, you're not subject to precedent of what different bodies do. But initially, the town there said, well, the ordinance is confusing. We think the building area should not include the setbacks. Went to the Superior Court, and the Superior Court judge said it's kind of ridiculous to require a 37,000 square foot building site for a house that probably wouldn't take up more than 5. And the setbacks are part of the lot that you can use for your picnic or your front yard or anything else. So you're effectively meeting the public health, safety, and welfare standards. That went up to the Supreme Court, who looked at it and reversed it and sided with the local land use board saying, well, the setbacks shouldn't be included. We don't think that's controlling here. And our view is if you don't want to include the setbacks, it should be stated clearly in your ordinance saying you're required to have 75 or 80%. And when you do your calculation, don't include your setbacks. And here's why. This is the public purpose. It doesn't say that. With the lot width issue, we work in a lot of towns, particularly smaller ones, say Manchester and Nashua, you might have 7,500 square foot lots. They have specific provisions that say in the R1B, for example, you need to have 100 feet of frontage, and you have to maintain that frontage for the depth of the lot. So you have to have a perfect square box. Your ordinance doesn't require that. You do have a frontage requirement, but no language that specifically and clearly states on the distance issue. Our view, it's only measured at the frontage. And when you go back and look at some of the subdivisions you've done, granted, there's not a lot of larger ones like this, but even the one lot that was here tonight, it's probably 7 acres, so it probably wasn't an issue. But in some of them, you've approved lots where the setback area is included and there isn't a full depth of the frontage all the way through the lot. So aside from what the law might say, there's the doctrine of administrative gloss, which says that if you've interpreted an ordinance in one way, even though it may not be exactly correct, you should continue to do that until you amend the ordinance. Now, as I think a few gentlemen have said, that'll all come out in the wash. And I think Mr. Chelman has give a letter with his points, and I'm sure your counsel, whoever you consult, will review it and give it to you. But, our goal here is to do a first quality subdivision that's beautiful. I'm a fan of covered bridges in New Hampshire, and Amy, to her credit, is passionate about that. So when you come in the entrance of Cherry Valley, you will see the covered bridge. We'll do it to the highway department's standard. There was some issue at technical review about public or private, with good reason. Expensive road to maintain, will be a private road. So it will be at the property owner's expense. So there's no public issue there other than public safety for making the bridge passable. As you see on the plan, there's a road that goes off to the side. There's some house lots there. And then a road that meanders up through the hill to get to 2 lots up at the top of the hill, which would have panoramic views of the lake. There was in the plan set, or there is, I should say, a lot with amenities on it, pickleball court and pool and that sort of thing. And the thought was to have cross easements to allow people in the development to use that. There was some concerns about that being outdoor amusement, I think I saw in the staff report. To the extent that's outdoor amusement, we'll take that off the plan and say we'll just do straight subdivision. We want to minimize complications, making it as close as possible as we can to your regulations so that we can move through this quickly. So that's basically our presentation on the plan. Cindy, you have anything to add to that?
Nope, the only other thing I would add, we did do a traffic study. VHB did a traffic study, which I will submit. I thought I had, but I will submit that to you guys. And we are under AOT review, alteration and terrain review right now. I anticipate we'll get comments from that this week and we'll move through that process. And we also have a wetlands impact permit that we need to submit. There's less than 5,000 square feet of wetlands permanently impacted on the project. So it'll be a minimal impact wetlands permit. So once we'll receive that as well.
I'll just comment to what you said. I say, don't get rid of the pickleball. I mean, if I was doing a subdivision, I think that's what I would want. I would want something for the people there. You know, I mean, I have my own development and they love the green space in the park, you know, a place to get together. I say the pickleball's a great idea, whether or not you have to put some sort of thing and say it's private. But I'd say keep that. Your frontage issue, I've been here for, I think, 10 or better years. I've never heard us say the back is too narrow. It's not the same width as the front. We've always gone with what, if you had road frontage, you had road frontage. And the setback thing too, that's too new to me as well. And it seems, it doesn't seem, I don't know how to explain it. It seems preposterous is what I'm saying, I guess. So that's just my comments on what you had just addressed to us. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to what he's provided, and then we can get further into the.
Yeah, I will. Thank you both. You made a comment about the ZBA having opposition to the project. I'm not sure that's accurate. You're shaking your head now, but you're saying you didn't say that.
No, I said there was opposition to it
Oh,
when we went through the ZBA.
There clearly was opposition. from
Yeah,
the
there was
team.
a lot of
But the
opposition.
ZBA, just to get it on record, the ZBA hadn't made a decision for or against.
And in fact, the
So the
ZBA
opposition was not
encouraged us
there.
to come back with it.
Mhm.
So I mean, that was not.
The second thing you mentioned that was that the ZBA had interest in moving this to a residential subdivision. That's not the case either. Maybe I misheard you when you said that, but I would like to get that on the record that the ZBA did not express whoever the owner is over here. The ZBA did not express an opinion either way. The ZBA's concern was that the application and its full components were not submitted on time. And that's why it got the delay, pushed out, wound up over at the high school. I just want to put that on the record so that's clear for everybody. You know, the only thing that was really a question mark was that road that was cut through where you had told us that you, in no certain, without any uncertainty, nobody on your side had done that. And then your engineer stood up and said, yes, I had done that. With that said, water under the bridge, because we did find out that he had gone in for a permit to be able to do that. No harm, no foul, but that did come out as well. Since we're kind of reliving history, I figured I would a little bit too. I'd like to stick to the case and really the facts as facts supported by data. The area that you're asking about with the pickleball, right? When that was submitted, that had 17 parking spaces for what was going to be, I don't remember what it was, a couple of courts. It just, something was wrong there. And that's why there were a lot of concerns about that. So I think our expressing an opinion, I appreciate your opinion and expressing that. But I think since that's off the case, I think you probably made the right move in taking that off. But, you know, again, no decision was made on that either, but there was some concern about the number of.
Well, you think they should dump the pickleball or cut down the parking spaces?
Either, but neither, we never got there, is my point. But my question is still gonna be, you know, I thought we were kind of past the frontage issue. The question is still whether or not the land can support 18 properties. Right, and based on what the abutter had shown, I don't know if you guys were here for that, when that happened, you probably were. He seemed to be pretty, he's an engineer, right? I'm sure he was telling it based off of what the math he had done and as accurate as he could. He didn't think that it could support more than 9 properties.
Who
I
are you
guess-
referring to?
The abutter and his engineer, and I'm sorry that I don't recall what their names are, but if we could, we'd put that on record too.
We're pointing to this guy over here. I don't know what his position is.
Well, with that said, my question to you guys would be, I mean, we get past the 2 real issues. And I appreciate the fact that other things that happen in Gilmartin that you yourself said have no bearing here. So I'm not sure why that we would, you said that in Gilmartin, there was something done that has no bearing on what we would decide. I don't know why that should even be, you know, why you would want to submit that. I think we should stick to the facts of the case, supported by data.
Can I
If we could.
respond?
Yes, please.
Looking forward to it.
I think you and I might have got off to a bad start, and if I did something to offend you, I apologize. I did not believe I said anything about the ZBA or its members. Said during the ZBA process, there was opposition. There were signs around the community, planes flying around the lake. It was not intended to the ZBA. There were some issues that were made. We've taken the position that we've put everything in on time. And I know there were some complications there. I think it's unfair to say all of these things and say, let's not relive the history. With respect to the road, there was an accusation that we had done some things wrong, and it wasn't. I think that's resolved now. When you talk about the Gilmanton case, the only reason I mention it, that's what Mr. Casali and his engineers raised. And I think that's going to be something that you folks are going to have to wrestle with. And I think I opened my remarks saying, I don't think you should rely on what I have to say or what an abutter that has motivation here to limit the lots. What I didn't go into, but you know, record is important. And if this goes beyond here, when we go to the Superior Court, they're going to say, did you present everything to the planning board?
When we go to
And
Superior.
if I said I didn't, because they were agitated with me, that's not a really good answer. But Mr. Casali not really going to be impacted by the concerns that he raised, but he's had a longstanding effort to try and acquire this property. I have emails here that he talks about his interest in the property, reaching out to Miss Grimm, saying he wanted to buy it. She declined, even said he didn't want to get into her business and bother it. He had a hard time when he developed his property on a steep slope and felt her pain. And after that, a plan came of the area that he wanted. And that didn't happen. And then we have these issues to try and change the way that you've interpreted the subdivision regulations in the past. So I think how it's interpreted, you certainly planning board have a lot of discretion, and ultimately you're going to have to make that call with the information that you deem appropriate. So I think you're correct in the extent that how that shakes out is going to change what happens here, right? We can go to the ZBA if we wanted to, or we could reduce the lots sizes and consolidate them. And that's an engineering exercise for Cindy and maybe Mr. Casali's engineer and Ty and Bond to work on and try and get to someone where we could come in. And I'd love to be able to say, everybody agrees on the configuration and the dimensions and the lot size, and we're not going to bother you with those details.
So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So it sounds like we're actually in agreement that you agree that the ZBA was not opposed, did not express an opinion.
I'll stand.
And also that, if you would, I mean,
Fair enough.
also that the motivation from the butter may be, you know, less than honorable, or however you state, that's probably the wrong words, but how you stated it. But his engineer was probably accurate, and I would guess there's motivation on your side to get this done as well. So there's motivations on both sides. That's why I really ask if we could stick to really what matters to the case. I think that would help us move along a lot faster.
Yeah, I'm not taking a
Thank you.
position on their engineer. Smart guy, he's got his credential. But like the law and engineering, there's different ways to interpret it. And what he says may be fact, but it may not wash with your ordinance and how you've interpreted it. But I'm happy to address any fact on the plan that you want. And if I can't do it, I'll call one of these smart people up here to help me.
Then I will ask you, I mean, if we're at this point, Mr. Chairman, could you guys please give your presentation on why you think it's 18?
Well, basically, I was just gonna say we should do just that. I mean, there seems to be this issue on whether or not it should go to the ZBA. So I think that's the issue we should be discussing now. So that'll give you direction, you know. Someone seems to think that these aren't large enough. If you feel they are, then you come back and you skip the ZBA. If you feel they're correct with the guidance you get here tonight, then you may want to do the ZBA. So that's probably the direction that we should go. We should look at these issues on the size.
Sure, I'm going to ask Cindy to take you through how she designed it, how she laid out the lots and how she did her calculations.
Okay, and if she could, as she's doing that, can she help us by explaining the difference of opinion, their opinion, this opinion? You know what I'm saying? I mean, she's gonna, rather than just tell us what she put down here on the paper, what we need to know is why they think that what she put on the paper isn't right. I mean, I need her to defend her work is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's, if you take and deduct the setback from some of the calculations, some of those lots will not meet the contiguous area. I think that's pretty simple how you interpret that. With respect to the frontage, we have frontage at the lot, frontage, the curb, if you will. And some of the lots may not carry that width all the way back. Which specific lots have them and which don't, I'm going to defer to the expert here.
Well, and that's what I
Here
meant,
to take you through it.
just to explain to us why there's this difference.
I mean, it actually is as simple as Attorney Cronin just said. When we did our calculations for contiguous area, we included the area within the setbacks of the lots, the lot lines, and the setback of the wetlands. We excluded specifically the wetlands on the property and the steep slopes on the property, because that's what your zoning ordinance specifically tells us to exclude when we're doing the contiguous area calculations. Mr. Chilman disagrees. It is as simple as that. As far as the lot frontage is concerned, we provided 200 feet of frontage at the right of way on every lot. The road is 2,500 feet long, and that allows for, with all the other zoning constraints, that allows for the 18 lots.
So the position you have at this point is that you are in compliance with the submission to meet the requirements that are in the current plan for the town of Alton.
That is correct. That's our
Could
interpretation
you help me
of it.
with something? Because I'm kind of in agreement with you on the frontage.
Mhm.
But do you have the math on how you did each of the lots and how much was, did you submit that? I don't think I have that.
Not sure what, it's all done on the computer, like the areas and everything is all done within the computer. That we used AutoCAD for our calculations, and it's an odd shape, right? They're not squares. And so we took the total area of the lot. We subtracted out the wetland area on each lot. We subtracted out the steep slopes on each lot. And that left a certain specific area where the wetlands crossed a lot. Like if there's upland here and then a wetland crosses, and then there's another set of upland. We didn't include this, but we did include the full.
So the other engineer went and as part of his presentation had kind of given us an idea on lot 2. this is how I looked at it. On lot 4, this is how I looked at it. And he had given us 4 or 5 lots that weren't, well, I don't even remember the exact number, but he'd given us, identified which lots didn't meet the criteria.
Sure.
You don't really have that with you tonight.
No, I didn't bring that to present tonight, but I wouldn't necessarily argue with him that those particular lots, the way he interpreted the regulations, if you take out the setback areas, it makes sense. That's correct. But we didn't take out
Yeah,
the
but-
setback areas. We included the setback areas in our calculations.
But I don't remember the setback being the issue on all of them.
It's not an issue on all of them.
Right, so that's where I'm at. I can't
Their
tell which one's
position is
fit
they're in compliance with what our ordinances are currently stated.
Right,
for all.
For all.
correct.
For all 18
Yeah,
lots.
well, the
but
ones
The
that he,
abutter engineer's position,
So there's two different positions
that's my
here.
point.
Okay.
So that's why I was trying to get to the math. If I could see the math, that would have helped. But you don't have it, so thank you.
We can,
but it was the abutters engineer that disqualified those, whether it was 5, 6, or however number, he disqualified it by road frontage, not all the way through the lot and setbacks. That's how we disqualified them.
No,
Which,
that's not completely accurate. I think what we're saying, what you just told me, and I think I agree with you, is that some of the lots were disqualified, could have probably qualified because of setback. Some may have qualified because of road frontage, but others didn't qualify.
That's correct. That was the position of the counter opinion. But
Right.
the opinion being positioned here is that they are all in compliance with the requirements as they pertain to the town of Alton.
And I thought my question was simple. I was just trying to get identified which ones those were. But we
can-
don't know that
We
today.
can provide you a printout of all the CAD
Yeah.
sheets with all the specific,
I'm not worried about tomorrow yet,
okay.
but I'm trying to
Because
figure out how we
ultimately-
resolve tonight.
Sure.
But at this point, that was my question, as simple
So
as that
ultimately,
sounds.
town council is going to have to take the position. Because there are two counter opposing opinions. And what I did hear is that there is flexibility to redesign these lots if needed to even reduce the number of lots to be in compliance with whatever the position taken by legal counsel is.
That's correct.
or is it the position of the town council? What you said before, I mean, we work in a manner that we work. And until things are amended and changed, that's the course we take.
Up to the point that, because we have,
So we
Different-
can't just go with that engineer's
can't.
idea just because that's what he wants. I mean, we've never done that. So that's why I don't see why the town council would come in on that issue, because that's not how we do things. This is how we do it. I mean, I suppose the town council can say, yeah, the chairman was right, that's how they do it, so move on.
maybe a question to Jessica, do you think Ty and Bond will take a position on this in terms of, are the lots in compliance?
I thought we already discussed this earlier, that we were gonna have town council look at it. Because
That was-
Ryan Bond had already given their opinion as to. I'm not reviewing that section of the zoning ordinance.
They weren't asked to.
I don't know, I heard two different stories there, I guess. So it's not clear to me. You know, the town needs a position from either Ty and Baum, as I see it, or the council to say, yes, these are conforming lots to the way we manage the ordinance.
Right, so it would be up to the board. So if the board can direct me as to what to do.
I could make one suggestion. I think if Cindy were to come back to us with, these are the lots that we, because the other engineer was saying there were at least 9 lots, but 9 lots, right? If Cindy could go back to us on those 9 and tell us which ones she thinks fit, or that where he's claiming it was because of the frontage, I agree with you. Where he's claiming that that the setback disqualified the lot, if you could tell us which ones those were. And I hate to do this to you, but it sounds like it's on the computer, but with that said, there's only 18 of them. If you could give us the percentage you think is buildable on each of the 18. Now, I know that would involve writing it onto a piece of paper or something. I'm sorry I'm with you. I'm an engineer too. Right. I don't want to touch it with a pen. I get that. I want the computer to do it. But if you could do that for us, I think that would be very, very helpful and get me at least past this issue of differing opinions.
Sure. So I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking for. Say there's 5 lots or 6 or 7, however many there are that
Right.
Mr. Chelman has taken opposition to. It would be helpful if I can provide a graphic for each of those lots that shows the area outside of the setback, the area within the setback, the total area that we included for contiguous area.
That's more than I'm asking, but that would be better.
Okay. I think that would make it clear for you guys. And it doesn't change our opinion that the zoning, about the way the zoning.
Understood, but I think
Okay.
without that data, it's hard for me to make an assessment of which of those 9 lots fit.
Sure.
Well, seems like there's two ways you can look at this and you come with the same result in the end. If you have a 19 lot subdivision, you show that you've got frontage on 19 lots and you show you've got area on 19 lots. That's the same thing as disqualifying the 5 that he says are disqualified by not enough frontage or area. The answer is going to be the same in the end, no matter how you look at it. So
I think we said
how
that.
you wanna move forward on that, you can prove your own plan, or you can show where that engineer's differs from what Alton required. So you can, when you come back, you can do it either way you want, and that will satisfy his likes.
I don't mean to be difficult, but I think it's a fair request.
I understand. And also, I think one of the issues that, if I may speak, we just need an answer. Like, we want to, like, we just need to know how you want us to interpret the zoning ordinance, whether it's U5 or High and Bond or Town Council. We just want to be able to move forward and complete the process.
I think if I could, Mr. Chairman, I think I can help toward that. I think, I'll state my opinion of frontage, but I think everybody agrees with it. The frontage is that if the frontage along the road is 200 feet, that's frontage regardless if it's a straight line, a rectangle, a square, or whatever type of geometric.
And that's the way it's been done
So we're in
historically.
agreement.
So that precedent is there and something that we need to face.
So that's part 1 to the zoning piece. I think the second part to the question here is whether or not, and I may get the numbers right, so hold me to the, please jump in, Jessica, immediately if I'm going off base. But I think it's 75% of the lot has to be buildable, which means you're removing the wetlands. I thought that was it, but I don't know if it also is removing,
It's 75% of the minimum requirement. So say rural zone has 2 acres. So 75% of 2 acres.
an acre and a half has to be buildable.
Right.
So I think we're almost in agreement with where you're at, except we don't have the data. All we have is, and you know what? I'm an engineer, you're an engineer. If I have data from this guy and it's saying something and we don't have the data from you, I want to get an A on my test.
Well, we have a contiguous area plan. We just didn't lay out, I guess we didn't lay out the map.
I think you need to bring the
as
fact
clear.
for him.
You need to bring the facts on each of the lots. It can't be that.
But it's on
So
there.
Your
Okay.
butter did.
Yep, I'll make it more clear.
I just want to bring something up to the board. Since we're being challenged by an abutter, and all due respect to Mark being an engineer, I think for protection of the town, it'd be in our best interest to have Ty Bond be the tiebreaker.
I don't see that. We got facts. We got precedents. Tiger Bond's gonna come into this project. They have their part of this project. It's not telling us how to do our job. It's telling them how to do their
I
job.
don't think us going to Ty Bond is not us not doing our job. I'm looking for protection of the township.
What do you expect Tiger Bond to tell these people? What do you expect them to
Whether
tell
the
us?
writer,
What
they
do you expect them to
agree or-
tell us and tell them?
Whether they agree or disagree with them or the abutter.
Well,
No.
well, the only comment I really have about that as far as, contiguous buildable lot is it's in the description. It's a buildable, contiguous buildable lot. That's the area with which you can build on, meaning it does not include setbacks. How can you include a buildable area in a setback that you can't build in? That makes no sense to me. That's where I'm having the snag. How can you include a setback that you can't build in without a variance?
Now, you're mixing two different things, a buildable lot.
I'm sorry,
In a
contiguous
zone, in
area.
a zone that requires 2 acres for a building lot, if the lot is an acre, then that's not a building lot. You don't subtract the setbacks.
Isn't that what they just said, what we're trying to figure out? Is if you can include setbacks in square footage of what we're discussing here. That's what we're trying to figure out, right?
A third issue. That's a third issue.
That's a big one, right? That's part of
Yes.
one of the bigger ones.
You're right, Nick. So we need to figure out where the town is on that issue as well. I agree with you.
And we've never,
But without that-
we've never taken not included setbacks. We've never had a subdivision come in and said, okay, well, what's the setbacks? Because we have to disqualify. It. Never.
Well, I gotta be honest with you. I mean, there's a lot of people. This affects a lot of people. So I understand we have to take it all into
Well,
account in
well,
facts, but he's over here talking about Superior Court and saying when we see him there. So I'm having a problem deciding anything, period.
Well,
So with short of the data, and I'll ask both of you, how much buildable land is there in lot 2?
they have to ask her. We don't. know
Exactly.
that.
So neither of us know. You don't seem to know tonight either. We can't make a
I bet
decision
she could probably come up
off of
with
no
it,
data.
but that's not for tonight.
Exactly.
We've given the requirements of what we want for. We wanted to well, we already show that she's got 200 feet of frontage. We want to show, well, it doesn't matter that that it tapers. What was the other issue there? There's so many.
The road frontage, the taper, and
Well, the road frontage and the taper were the same issue.
Slopes and wet.
The slopes. Well, yeah, the contiguous, there was still another, we had two things.
Setback. Right, we got
We had two disqualifiers. One was the road frontage.
in the buildable area.
And the other was the contiguous area and
Yes.
whether or not we can use the area within the setback as part of the requirement for the 1.5 acres of,
Right. And
Buildable land.
we've never disqualified it before.
But the problem here is we don't know how much it is on any of those lots.
I don't know, well, again,
Do I have that?
we have the contiguous area plan that shows
Is it-
how we calculated it. Yep,
Oh.
it's a sheet 7.2 or 1 or
Seven,
so it's towards the back.
73, you think?
Those are like the last 4 sheets or the
Is that what-
7.
or-
So maybe
Look
the
at
one, the
this.
pink and green one, yep. So that, and I know it's probably gonna be, each of those lots should have a block on it that has the total lot area and the contiguous buildable area, I believe.
Oh, it does. Thank you.
Okay. What it doesn't show is the area within the setback as a separate item.
Sorry, what sheet was it?
7.3?
3. It doesn't do the math for me, but
No, right, it doesn't do the math.
See something.
Yeah. Mark's point, I think it would be beneficial to have the math.
I
and a
guess,
Summary.
okay, I'll do a summary table for you guys.
well, there's only 18. You can do it right now. Somebody's got a calculator.
Yeah.
If we want to keep moving on this tonight or. I mean, I think that's a key issue, but I'm with Nick too. We've got to resolve the issue on how the math is going to get calculated. On the
But
setback.
the other thing here is precedent and how the town has handled it before, huh?
Agreed.
I was kind of looking at the map, not listening. So you have undisputable facts on contiguous buildable lots, correct?
I can
I mean,
show
I'm
you
looking
how
at-
I got my numbers. I will
Okay.
show you how I got my numbers.
So-
That'll be the
so that's-
best way to do it.
So that's where Tig and Bond will come in.
Right.
They'll look at it and
Yeah.
they'll either agree with you or they'll show you where you're wrong,
Right.
not the neighbor, Tig and Bond, and that's why we bring them in.
Did we need a motion on it?
A motion on what?
On bringing Ty and Baum to render a position
We suggested that at the last meeting, didn't we?
Well, they'll,
there.
We did. And don't recall all the discussion. But we did discuss,
well,
suggest
they,
that one.
Eigenbaum came in. But they didn't look at the building. Or what was the part that Eigenbaum came in for before?
Well, I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I don't know. All I know is
You've spoken with Eigenbaum. What was
So it
it?
was my understanding the last time I spoke with Dennis Moran at Ty and Bond, that they reviewed the engineering pieces of what we did. However, the zoning issues, they decided to leave to the town to decide. And it was my understanding that he was going to recommend to the planning board that you hire town council to review the zoning issues, because it's not really an engineering issue, it's a zoning issue. That was my understanding from Dennis Moran, but when I spoke with him.
that I would take her word for that then. But like I said, I was not at the last meeting. It's been a little rough go, so there may have been a correspondence that I may have missed.
Well, it
that
wasn't in
meantime.
writing, it was a Zoom call.
Okay.
So I thought he put it in writing to you, but to the,
Well,
I would agree if it's a zoning issue, I feel like town council maybe should be looking at that
it's a
and not
different,
time bond.
yeah, we interpreted the zoning ordinance differently than Mr. Tillman did. And that is the issue at hand, in my opinion.
okay, so how is the town council gonna be able to figure out whether or not you figured it right or they figured it right?
It's
He's
about
not
the
an engineer, he's an
language.
attorney.
What he will do is look at it from the precedent of what was normally applied in the past. And that's the critical point.
Which is what we've already determined.
Well,
We could move forward with.
I don't have enough of the history to make a judgment on that, so. That's why I think council is important on this.
Cindy, do your measurements on the 18 lots match what the abutters had the total for the total?
The total lot sizes?
Yeah.
I would imagine, I mean, he didn't have my CAD,
But we never really,
Files,
I
but-
never looked at it either, so.
yeah.
Shame
Most
on-
of those
shame
lots are
on
more
us.
than well over 2 acres.
Yeah, I know,
And there's a
but-
lot, yeah,
But that's also the denominator.
Yeah.
Right, so I want to make sure that we're both talking the same language, although if he's got different numbers than you do, then we got to figure that problem out too. Or maybe that solves the problem, to tell you the truth. Right, in your favor. If he's looking at different numbers, I just want to make sure he's using the same numbers to do the math on, right? Of course, we all want that.
I'm looking at the letter from Mr. Miller on January 15th, and their position is that 11 out of the 18 lots are not in compliance.
Or 9, I say, at least 9 it says. In the green.
It says 7
I got something, see, it says. at
failed to
least
meet the
9.
200-foot width, 3 failed to satisfy the contiguous building requirements, and 1 lot fails on both requirements. My math, that adds up to 11.
Okay, at least 9 of the lots shown on the plan below before you do not comply. So we're okay, we're somewhere between 9 and 11, so I'm with you. But I think we've got to get the data to be able to at least make sure we're both doing it the same way. And if it's really just a judgment call on how much of it's wetland and how much it's not, that would be interesting to know. If it really truly is the setbacks, that would be interesting to know. And maybe hearing someone from our side, they can give us a decision on whether the setback should be or shouldn't be, would be helpful as well. Maybe too much talking from this mouth. Sorry to do this to you again, but I mean, these things have to, what we're trying to do is be complete. And to tell you the truth, and I know history, is being interpreted 2 different ways, but on the zoning side, it was because the applications were incomplete. Here, it's impossible to say, and I trust you completely. I'm an engineer. I trust you completely. And I trust the other engineer completely. Because, we have standards to live by. We're professionals, of course, right? But something's amiss and we should figure it out.
oh, well, it's the interpretation of the
The
zoning. That's
interpretation.
all it is. That's what
And
it's, that is
unfortunately,
what's
that's where
different.
it gets into the legalese on this.
We don't really know yet if it's the interpretation, because we don't know if he's drawn the lines the same.
It is.
We do know what's the
It's in my
interpretation, 'cause he
plan.
explained it right there when he was here. He said, because
That's true,
it
that's
didn't
true.
carry the frontage throughout the lot, it didn't qualify.
Yes.
That's what he said.
Where we're at is we have two counter opposing opinions based on the engineering. Okay? And Ty and Baum, as you know, supporting this from the town's interest is, as I hear it, begged off on taking a position on this. They've said it has to be the town council that needs to do it. Presuming that's accurate, that leaves us no recourse but to have town council look at this and take a position. And what's been done, particularly with respect to precedent hearings. Because I hear what you're saying, that we can take a position on this, but honestly, I don't see, where we are relative to road frontages from the applicant's perspective versus the abutter's perspective on this thing.
I think we have the information on the road frontage, don't we? If you look at some of the examples he's used, he's drawn the lines to make them square or well.
About that, because he says they failed to satisfy the 200-foot width of street requirements of the Alton ordinance.
But if you look at his examples, well, okay,
But I'm only reading his conclusions.
yeah, but if you look at forget what the examples were in here.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I think we could punch holes in that. Anybody could punch holes in the way he did that, I think. Like,
That certainly wouldn't be consistent with what the town has done historically.
And that's what the town attorney should come up with. That this
Right.
is how the town does it. So you can,
But that still doesn't take care of the 3 additional lots that failed to satisfy the contiguous buildable land position that they've taken to. Right.
both
So
says no.
you
there's,
still say that's an engineering
It's an issue.
engineering feat. She's shown that they qualify. Now, I don't know, did that other engineer say that they don't qualify?
Yeah, it's.
Where's
it's not that.
Okay, so where's his data?
He gave it to us.
he gave it.
Can I make a suggestion?
I'll take it.
Regardless of the number that's proposed that don't qualify, if the interpretation comes back and we all know what it is, you have excess land. That doesn't mean that 9 of them or 11 of them won't be lots, because she can take and consolidate and redraw the line. So maybe you lose 3 lots, maybe you lose 2, maybe you lose 4. So I think we're kind of speculating on what's going to happen, and it all keys on what you guys come up with and whether you can count the setbacks or not. So I don't know
100%.
that we can advance it any further now.
I don't think you can. I think it's up to us to take a position what the next steps are relative to the town's interest.
Does it go to town council or does it go to the town bond?
Maybe there's 2 steps. I mean, maybe Jessica, maybe you can go back to Ty and Baum and confirm that their position that it needs to go to town council.
I actually had a phone call in to Dennis earlier. But he hadn't had a chance to reach out to
Okay.
me.
And my suggestion would be if that's correct, that's the position they take, then we need to approach town council on this.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion.
Sounds about right.
Sounds-
Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, go to Tiger Bond, and if they give you the same answer they gave you last time, we'll go to the town attorney, which, in my opinion, should agree with us, because this is how we've acted our business. So we'll wait to hear from either or.
And if he says such and such lots are non-conforming in that context, then you'll have to go back and revisit how you redraw or
Understood.
use the number of.
And all that being said, that gives some direction. I'd kind of like to open it up to the public. I'd like to hear some other opinions, but don't run away.
Give them a plate. You got a speaker for them.
What's that?
Got a microphone
Okay.
for them.
Oh, that's why you'll get,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
was
I'm
gonna give
sorry.
him the
Yeah,
speed.
okay.
He thought you were gonna run out of the.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought. You can grab it.
This is
yourself and you're
mild.
out of there.
Compared to some of the hearings over the years, I'm not
All right.
running any.
I'm going to open this up to the public. Do Do we have any public that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Richard Shea. I'm a member of the Board of Selectmen, but speaking as an individual, and I have no plus or minus interest in this case whatsoever, but my impression, it sounds like maybe we need to amend the zoning regulations so that it's clear that either the setback is considered buildable area or not. And also, it makes me wonder, each structure has to have a septic system and a driveway. Do you reduce the buildable area by the area taken up by those two components and perhaps anything else that might be required? Hopefully, in the future, we could amend the regulations so that this issue will not come up, because it is confusing. Everybody wants to do the right thing, and nobody's quite sure of what that is. Thank you.
I think that's a great suggestion.
But as for the future,
2026.
I'll be there. Any, oh, yeah, here we go.
Good evening. My name is Rick Chelman. I'm the engineer you're referring to. I'm also a licensed land surveyor. Interesting discussion. I think it makes complete sense to me to have your town attorney look at the issues, because it's not a question of, do I think Cindy can't calculate the area of these lots? She can, and she has. It's a question of what you include. And on the issue of including the setbacks and the buffers from the wetland areas, as Nick said, where you can't build, by definition, is not buildable land. The ordinance is very clear. It requires contiguous buildable land, 75% of your lot size. Setbacks are a part of your lot size, but they're not a part of your buildable land. So I would suggest that you give my letter and Attorney Miller's letter to the town attorney, and I'm sure Mr. Cronin will want to submit a letter, and let the town attorney assist with this, because by accepting the application, you've invoked jurisdiction, and your own rules, you look on page 2 of your rules, you're required to deny an application if it's deficient. So you have to make that determination and to find out if it's in compliance with zoning, exactly as your planner suggested at the beginning of her planner review. It's not a fight. I haven't been told to look for things, try to find a way to stop this application. As I said at the last meeting, I would dearly love to be able to tell you it's in compliance. I agree completely, but I don't. There are deficiencies with this application. There's also deficiencies of the way things have been represented. The width of frontage issue is a width of frontage, not a width of lot. That's different. That's not what is in my letter. It's not what's in Attorney Miller's letter. It's a technical issue, and I think Mr. Manning, as an engineer, can understand it if he thinks about it a little bit further. But again, maybe the town attorney can look at the rationale and the basis, including Supreme Court decisions that support our position and our interpretation. The idea, back to the contiguous buildable area and whether or not to include setbacks and wetland buffer areas, I might add, were also included. Those are areas you cannot put buildings. The New Hampshire Supreme Court has said you can't count those. Now, call me crazy. I take the position that the New Hampshire Supreme Court, when ruling on something specifically on point like that, controls every town. I chair the board in Portsmouth. It controls us in Portsmouth. It controls every town in the state. That's why we have a Supreme Court. You know, it's not pistols at dawn, it's a rule of law. They are the ultimate rule of law in our state. Again, it brings us to the town attorney. Let him or her, I don't know who it is, review things and give us some guidance, because without that guidance, we're going to have a dispute with some people who feel strongly about, you know, does it comply or doesn't it comply? I understand their position. I don't agree with it. They don't agree with mine. So let's get some basis for it. There's also the subdivision issue of the length to width on a couple of the lots that Jesse raised. That should be addressed with a waiver request. That's a small matter. But the zoning issues are very, very significant. And again, I have a PowerPoint, but without a projector that you have. I've got mine. I can set it up on a small screen if you want to look at it. I can show you with color, as Mr. Manning was asking, what is and isn't included. But back to my earlier point, I'm confident that if Cindy is told you shouldn't count setbacks, you shouldn't count wetlands buffer, they can do it. I may be asked to check it, or Ty and Bond may be asked to check it. That's common. That's peer review in engineering. We all make mistakes at times. But the big question, should those land areas be included or not? I think they should not be included. She thinks they should be included. You can make a determination tonight without any input, but I think it might be the better course of action to ask town council to help you with that decision. And I hope we can get to a point where, as was suggested, Ty and Bond, if they're still involved, and Cindy and I can just say, yep, it's all in agreement. You know, we're good. We go forward, this plan conforms, because, you know, it's not worth fighting over. Engineers don't fight over nuance. We like to address things with, you know, more specificity. And that's my position. And by the way, my client was interested in purchasing this property at one point. To my knowledge, he has not tried to purchase it recently. That's not his motivation. His instruction to me was, see if the plan conforms. If the plan conforms, tell me that. If it doesn't conform, then I'm going to be against it. That's his instruction to me. And that's what I'm doing. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public input? I just ask of you guys, he said that that's a Supreme Court ruling, that you can't use wetlands or wetland abutter. Is that going to change your way of signing? Is that said to you, gee, I guess I got to make up some adjustments, or are you still headstrong on what you got? Okay, all right. Well, then that would go to him. All right.
I think then, Mr. Chairman, we also have to go back per Mr. Chalman, it's Chalman, right? Per Mr. Chalman's discussion, we have to go back and take another look at how frontage is calculated.
No, we already determined that. If you have 200 feet of frontage, you have 200 feet of frontage. That's how Alton does it. That's how we do it. He's from Portsmouth. They do it different. I don't.
Okay, I think I'm in agreement with you. I mean, his example here is kind of interesting. Right, is your point to Chalman that if the lot line doesn't touch the road, you're calculating off of where the lot line is? Or is it that you're extending the line to the road where it's not your property? I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember all of it. Look at this.
Yeah, I understand.
Where the lot line ends here. It's not 200 feet.
To explain it without graphics, I'll try. I tried to explain it at the last meeting. The ordinance has 3 different frontage requirements on the road. It's got a standard or a simple frontage requirement.
Are you talking about the Alton ordinance?
Alton. I'm just talking about Alton. Not going to talk about any other communities. You have a requirement for frontage, street frontage in several zones that's just street frontage. Your corner lots, including in the zone for this project, it's just street frontage, which means you run along the street, as happens. This zone adds a word to the requirement in the same section that has the requirement for contiguous buildable land. The way it's set up, and it's in the letter that I provided, you've got the basic requirement of 2 acres and 200 feet of frontage. Then below that, it says in addition, and this was added later, you have to have 75% contiguous buildable land. We talked about that. But then in addition, you have to have 200 feet width of frontage. It's not a width of the lot. Doesn't go back. It's at the street. So if this is the street and the lot lines hit at right angles, and it happens to be 200 feet in between, you have a width of frontage at the lot. If you start angling my arms as side lot lines at the street, and they can bend so that you could have 200 feet back here. But if you've angled them at the street, you don't have 200 feet width of frontage. So why is that in there? Why does it make a difference? Because
Why did you lose any? You got point A,
Mhm.
point B, whether it's square or you move it, it's still point A and point B. So when you take your wheel and you go to point A and you roll it to point B, it's gonna come up with a different number than if it's like this or like that?
it's
'Cause
gonna,
I got one of those wheels. I've never,
I've got the wheel, I've got lasers, I've got all kinds of things, and I'm sure Cindy's got them as well. It's the difference between length versus width. What you're talking about is the length. The length along the street,
road frontage.
the length, that's just frontage.
Well, the requirement is road frontage, 200 feet of road frontage.
The requirement here is width of frontage. Width, by adding that word, you have to take into account the geometry of the sidelines at the street. Otherwise, you can't have width. You only have length. Exactly what you said. Exactly what you said. And that's exactly what they did, and that's exactly why I think it's wrong. All they did was look at the length on the street, not the width of frontage at the street. They are different. It's not a width of the lot. That's different too. Not talking about that. It's the width of frontage.
So I think the critical point here is, to the extent that's, reflects what's in the town ordinance, the question is how has the precedent been set in terms of subdivisions like this before? And that's why the precedent to me is so important here and what the position of town council would be.
Precedent's a slippery slope, and
Well, it is in 2 directions too.
in both directions. I agree. And that's another reason why I think town council should look at that. I agree that this is a technical nuance, despite what I said earlier about engineers not
And
looking
it's
at
also
nuances.
dependent on how the town actually practiced the
And also what has happened at the Supreme Court since the last time the town looked at this, because as the Supreme Court makes decisions, the case law affecting what we do as planning board members changes over time as well. So, there could be a reason, I'm not going to put words in the town attorney's mouth. There could be a reason why this is time to relook at it. There may be a reason to change your ordinance, as the selectman mentioned. That's another thing too. But that is not something that affects this application. So it's the difference between length and width. It's a big difference. And by the way, the number of lots, it's 11. 4 lots don't conform based on contiguous buildable land, and 7 don't conform based on width of frontage.
Would you like to share your opinion? You just, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I already asked for anybody else. Seeing no one, I'll close the public. And I think at this point, we have guidance to move forward. Oh, yeah, no, drone. Thank you. Fortunately, when you come back, I won't be the chairman. I'll be down the other end. I don't want to go out there. Anybody else have any thoughts or suggestions for them? First, an amicable arrangement. Okay. What did I do on the agenda? Swallow it.
So is this case being continued to the next month? We still,
Next, continue to next month? Yes.
and that is February.
18 comes to mind.
That would be February 18th.
With that,
Yes.
yes. Okay, case P 25-01 will be continued to the 18th of February. Yep.
That's the response.
Correct.
Just, we may have to.
Yeah.
Yep, understood.
Which you will.
Me too.
At this point to that, Jessica, the last correspondence with Ty and Bomb to you was on December 16th.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The last correspondence from Ty and Bomb to you was on December 16th. This seems like it's quite a while ago. That's the latest one that I had in my packet.
From design review.
It is, huh?
Do you have any questions?
Let's go with case P 2502.
All downhill from here, man. No, obviously, okay. Because of the pump.
I think he could be persuaded. I want to see his roommates and his backup as to why.
It's fair.
You know, I mean, this is, we should have been doing right here. This is how we, this is.
I mean,
how we do it.
yeah, you got a ton of time. I don't.
You too.
I'll see.
Right, right.
And nothing taxes already.
All right, so let's take a look and see how we are
Again.
complete. Approved. All right. Okay. Being everybody's seated. Okay. This is a case with no waivers. Looks like
I
everything.
don't think I asked for any.
No, that's why I said a case with no waivers. Looks as though everything has been submitted. For somebody to complete.
Yeah.
Any motions?
I make a motion for case P 2502 that the submission is be complete for a minor subdivision of there's a lot. Map 5, lot 3-2 into two lots, one of 5.5 acres and the other of 2.71 acres.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none? Well, that's for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposed. All right, Mr. Zusko.
I'm named Paul Zusko. I'm representing Fab Custom of a building. Got an 8.25 acre lot and what's divided into two lots. One's gonna be 5.55 acres, one's gonna be 2 something acres.
7-1.
2.71. 8.25 and 2.71.
No, 5.55 and
The
2.7.
parent lot is 8.25.
Right. You'll notice there is a lot of wetlands on this lot. There's a beaver pond. Even though the 5 acre lot, we don't need state subdivision approval. That's why I don't show a 4K area. Because you don't need it. Your minimum, now, your ordinance, let's get into the setback thing. In your checklist, it says show the minimum contiguous upland. I don't know where they're getting building from. But your ordinance says the minimum contiguous upland area required by the zoning ordinance for each lot excluding wetlands and 25% slopes. Doesn't say anything about setbacks. Because my 5 acre lot has, your minimum lot area is supposed to be 1.5 acres. I'm showing 1.54 acres of contiguous. The state only requires 20,000 square feet of soil for a septic system. So I'm not sure whether they're getting this buildable. And then even if the Supreme Court win, it's the town, that specific town went to Supreme Court to change that. It doesn't change it in every town, but it does take a precedence for you to change it in your ordinance. But you have to do that. Today,
Did you just walk into the room? You weren't here for the last meeting?
You could have interjected it.
so if
I
you
can
want to
take it.
change your ordinance, you can. Now you have a precedence to do that, but you're not doing it. Your ordinance says to show the minimum contiguous upland area required by the zoning, excluding jurisdictional wetlands and steep slopes. Nowhere does it say setbacks. Or does it say buildable area?
Yeah, okay. What are you referencing into which section?
It's in your checklist
It's
for
in my
subdivision,
checklist?
second page. And your minimum width, the lot ratio. Anything under 5 acres, got to be 3 to 1. So if I got 200 feet of frontage, I can't go back any further than 600 feet. Doesn't say I have to be 200 feet all the way back. Because you'll see that I have a little jog in my line, and that's to make sure that I have contiguous lot area. I show buildable, I show a proposed house on each lot. And I show the 50-foot wetland setbacks for the state to show that the septic can be on that lot. I'm no lawyer, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express once.
Just to be clear though, you're saying a lot on the left doesn't have 75%. That's what you're telling us?
What, the big lot?
Big lot, because this.
It does. It has 70, it has
Oh,
more
so
than
that-
75% of your minimum lot area.
Gotcha. Then I'm misreading. I thought this was your beaver pond.
It is.
Oh, it is.
It's huge. But your ordinance says I only need 1.5 acres. I only need 75% of your minimum lot area required. Your minimum lot is 2 acres. 75% is acre and a half.
We're with you. Well, let's do that then. Let's focus on peak water level. Does that help? Or does that hurt your argument? That helps your argument?
Yeah, we haven't opened it up to the public. Well, we still gotta wait, we gotta wait till we open it to the public. Yeah, well. Have you anything else, Paul, before I open it to the public?
Go ahead.
Okay, come on up. Undisputable process.
It's the first time I've ever done that, so bear with me.
It's all right. This way.
State my name.
Please.
Neil, Neal, last name Stanley. I'm the abutter.
You're looking at the
map 5,
lot to the right.
correct. And my issue isn't if they split the thing up into 2 lots and build houses, my issue is my property getting damaged. Gonna do up there to actually be able to build. I saw the proposed house. I know exactly where it's going, and that's exactly where I see flood come out of that swamp. So I don't know how they're gonna even build there. I know it's proposed, but it's all staked off. So that's where they wanna build. That's my opinion.
My builder said, and he talked with the wetland scientist also, that when he does build, he's gonna direct that water to go down along the side of that woods road or the driveway, so it's not flowing down towards his.
So also there's not adequate drainage at the road. There's all ledge there.
I know for a fact that there's not adequate drainage.
Thank you very much.
I used to grade that.
Exactly. So they can't drain at the road, they can't drain to my property, and they can't drain to the property out back. Where are they gonna drain it?
And where is your house located on the?
Right next, I don't have a map, sorry.
Yeah.
Is it this one here? with the-
He's over here.
I'm right next to the, up and show you, please.
Well,
Do
maybe
you
it's
mind?
in here. Okay. Well,
I mean, that's the biggest issue is gonna be the drainage. I don't know how they're gonna drain it. I mean, they're gonna build the land up so it doesn't flow out of the swamp. I mean, I don't understand how they're gonna do it, to be honest with you. I mean, that road, the existing driveway, that's a tote road. That thing's all mud right now. I mean, it's just wet all the time.
All right, so. What'd you say, existing drive? You're saying that's mud? Is that what we're saying? The existing drive is mud?
Pretty much. Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, that would be the homeowners. Or the builder have to make it not mud.
Well, it slopes out. So what happens is, just to give you an example, so the swamp's up this high. As it floods up, it goes downhill, and that goes towards that driveway, the existing driveway, and goes down into the woods and potentially can go into my yard. And it has at times, and I'll tell you what I've
Was there
done. So
precedent for that happening before?
I have had that happen, yeah, absolutely. And what I have, my abutting property in back of me, I have permission to go on his property and knock the beaver dam down so my property doesn't get flooded. That's how I control my yard not getting flooded in the road. That's
But the
how I
beavers
control
keep
it.
coming back.
Oh, yes.
I did one in Gilmington, and they had a beaver problem, and they consistently went and got the beavers out, and the beavers finally were out. And where the beaver pond was, it's now.
Well,
a
if the
dry
builder wants to
field.
take care of that situation, that'd be great, but I don't want to pay to have somebody take. That shouldn't be I guess that shouldn't be, I probably should have done something all this years ago about that property, because that shouldn't be my worry to knock down a beaver dam to not flood my property. But I've been nice enough and not complaining about it. I just been taking care of it myself, because that's what I do.
So
But
maybe.
now I'm gonna have someone building houses there. Now that's gonna compromise me being able to maintain that my property is not gonna get damaged. And if this guy wants to build a house, that's fine, but assure me that he's gonna take care of that, and I don't have to worry about
Just,
that.
just so I can be, because I'm missing something here. Don't build the house. Leave it just as it is. Is that gonna stop the beaver pond from coming to your house?
If you leave it as is?
Yeah.
No, I'll just go back and knock the beaver dam down and take care of it. I mean, but he starts changing the land. Think about this. Now he's gonna start changing the land and the slope of everything. So then what? What's gonna assure me that it's not gonna get worse?
Well, that's gotta be part of the
I mean, is there a
It's gotta be
plan?
part of this plan, that's all. I mean,
I mean,
He can't-
by law, can he just do whatever he wants? And if it drains in my property, it drains in my property. Oh, well, I'm on a lot. I mean, I'm just asking.
well, I mean, right now, it's
Well, by law, he can't dump any more water onto your lot than already exists.
right. So, I mean, already the water, you say the beavers build the dam.
Well, technically, he owns the pond, that swamp. He owns the swamp. Right? I'm just asking.
So
No,
on the,
right.
on the parent, on the first lot, there's already a house, right?
I mean,
Or-
just because I've been living on,
No houses on.
All new, okay,
yeah, there's no houses at all.
both new.
That always was used as a camp. That's all that was ever there. We haven't seen anybody up there in like 5 years. That's all it's ever been used for. They got a camper on there now that's just basically half collapsed. And a couple of outbuildings that are
All right,
dry rotting and just most
So
ready to
this
collapse.
circle here with the, looks like a well,
That's
That's you.
That's his
yeah.
well.
that's you there.
Yes.
So if that overruns, it's gonna run behind this house and get you anyway. I mean, everything, him is
Well, that's all his property.
I know.
So it's okay if he dumps it?
No, it's the
asking.
beavers that are doing the dumping,
But who's responsible for
the beavers.
that? So I give them a notice to get out?
Okay, he doesn't put any houses there. Who's responsible for it?
Should be the
Who's creating-
landowner.
Who's creating the problem?
Should the landowner,
No,
not
the
take,
beavers.
okay, so what do you do?
You get the beavers out of there.
Well, the thing is it's draining where they're planning on putting the house.
When it
It's
overflows.
all over the frickin' side. It's all over. It's not just one area. It's wet all the time. I can sit there. and
Getting
watch.
everybody. So obviously you all want to work together and blow up the dam, get rid of the dam. That's a simple,
I don't want
And we
the
would
problem,
help
I don't
that
want the
too.
problem to get worse is what I'm saying. Because he has nowhere.
why would he want it to get worse? Sounds
He
like-
has nowhere to drain is what I'm saying. There's nowhere to drain the water. It can't be drained at the road. It can't get drained into my property. It ain't gonna get drained back into the swamp. There's nowhere to put it. So I'm just, oh, well, you've been drained. I've been dealing with it for
So
20 years.
has it been created by the dam?
It's
Or has
being
it
created by,
by swell?
it's the swamp. When you get like, we get like massive downpours or during spring, when you get the snow melt, it rises and it starts overflowing out of that dam. Out of the swamp. It's just.
It has
how
no,
goes.
it has no outlet.
The outlet is out back and it can be dammed by the beavers.
The outlet is out back and it
So you
is
can,
dammed
you
by
can
the,
control it so it doesn't get out of control. It's still gonna overflow. And you're gonna still see trickle effect coming down through the woods. It's not like a river. But if I did nothing about it and just let it go, it would be a
So-
river going right
so
through.
in the past, you've realized this is a problem
Yeah,
and you had permission from the guy out back to deal with it. So in the
so I
past,
just keep
in the
doing
past,
it.
in the past, you've dealt with it.
I mean, you have
Why would
someone
the-
buying the property now that wants to build a house. If I had a neighbor that owned that property and had a house, I'd go knock on their door and say, can you do something about this problem? That's not the case. There's no house on that
Say,
property.
say that house gets built and then that owner says, no, you can't deal with the beaver dam, you know, all of a sudden then.
Well, that would just have to be something that was in the subdivision plan that it's gotta be dealt with.
Yeah,
That's got-
exactly. That's why I'm speaking here.
When you go.
Because I don't want to just say, yeah, go ahead, start building a house, and then the houses are built and I'm getting flooded more. And then I'm screwed. I'm making sure I'm not gonna get,
That's something, I mean, because all of you, I mean.
Let me ask you this,
You,
which,
and then these two houses.
I mean, do you
all
think it's
want-
fair did you think it's fair? We
which
just
house
leave it
gets
as-
flooded first?
Just
Where
ask.
this proposed house is going, or would yours get flooded first? If the beaver.
Excuse me, what was that?
Which, based on this proposed subdivision, which house would flood first based on that existing beaver?
Oh, if they put the house where they're saying
They're
they're gonna
proposing,
put it,
yeah.
I don't see how they can even put the house there. That's my opinion.
So that's even a
Because that's gonna
bigger
be
problem than
flood
what
flow,
yours
right?
is.
Why don't we put the proposed houses just to show you where we could do it? If someone buys that lot, they could build further back if they wanted to.
But it also gets wetter out back.
Which
I
would
don't
just.
know if you walk the property, but it gets.
So it seems to me that it's a simple answer. I mean, you're just looking to not get flooded.
Correct.
You don't have a problem with the subdivision other than.
Oh, no, I
But could-
do, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Right, so.
I'd prefer a house not to be right next to me. That's why I moved to where I'm at.
So there would have to be, which there isn't now, whereas it's one lot. There isn't nothing now that says that dam has to be controlled. But in this new subdivision.
I
it
guess
could be-
I'm here to just state, I want something to be done about controlling that. Not
And it
not
makes-
getting worse to flood my property.
And it makes good sense.
Because if they divert the water, what if they divert the
Let
water?
me tell you who it makes the best sense for is the person that buys the house unknowingly. You know what I'm saying?
property, yeah, exactly.
You know,
Well,
so.
I don't disagree. I might knock on their door before they buy and let them know, hey, you may want to take flood.
I think it should be right. I think it should be right in the.
I mean, I honestly don't understand how they can build a house there on that side. I'll be honest. If you walk through there.
Well, we just gave you the
springtime-
reason that I mean, you control the dam. You take control of the dam. It's got to be done by somebody. You got to just, I guess you got to decide who's gonna be the one. I should think it should be a joint, I mean,
Unfortunately, that part of the dam is owned by the property owner in back of us. That part of the property is not owned by this.
so what's the problem? Why wouldn't it just go as it's gone? The guy out back said you can control the dam.
You have to get the beavers out of there.
Why, I'm only doing this because nobody lives next door. It's a vacant lot.
So now I'm
If somebody
confused.
puts a house in there, aren't they gonna get flooded and shouldn't they
Sound,
be,
well, it
but
sounded.
they own the swamp?
You were
know what I'm
concerned, you
saying?
were concerned for yourself before.
The
now you're
beaver,
concerned for them.
where it's getting dammed is owned by a different property owner, but the swamp is owned by this property. So
So
it's,
where is so is that on tax map?
can I come up and show you?
Yeah,
I'll push you
please.
exactly where it
The
is,
beaver dam's probably up back here.
further?
Yes.
Okay.
right to the,
Alright.
way back. It's on somebody
So
else,
it's,
but the swamp is on the property next door.
And that's owned by a Justin Leone and Valerie Kesslin, I guess?
I don't think that's the right owner, right? Well, it used to be,
The
that
town
used to
is.
be the owner, yes. But the new owner is Bethel, I would assume.
And-
On this lot, the lot out back.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
the
I'm
lot
just-
out
I'm
back,
just trying to
that's,
understand.
Yeah, Justin,
And have there ever been, there've been attempts to eliminate the beaver dam and they just keep coming back?
I've gone out there and knocked it down myself because I don't want to lose my driveway.
Have you had discussion with the current property owner about it?
Nobody lives there. It's a
Okay, I'm-
vacant
I'm
lot.
with you. I'm
It's
with
a
you.
vacant lot. It's a camp. I never see them. I mean, I don't even know who they are. Never met them in my life. No idea who they even are.
So you're concerned that those split into.
Now you're gonna put a property there,
Someone might come in and build them.
and what are they gonna do with the drainage? Cause there's gonna be drainage issues for sure on that property. It's gonna be drainage issues. Where are they gonna put it? Where are they gonna divert the water?
where do you put yours?
My property's at the bottom of the hill. And I actually have put thousands of dollars into my driveway years ago because it kept getting washed out. And Richie Lane finally fixed my driveway so where it captures most of the water. And I don't have those issues anymore, but so it's when we get serious rains like we had, like was the last year, it actually rose up and wiped out my whole driveway. And I mean, the road is not adequate drainage at all. And adding more houses at that, where they want to put them, I don't understand where they're gonna, how they're gonna do it, how they're gonna drain, where they're gonna put the.
I think
The,
maybe
the upper one, the upper part that they want to split, that is up on high ground. That doesn't seem like there would be any issue that flooding. But the one where they put in near my property, that one is, I just don't see how where they're gonna drain that. The only thing I could think is what they would have to do, which is just my opinion, is they'd have to build the ground up. So that dam, the beaver swamp, can never get high enough to breach it. That's just my opinion, but. And you said it was 75% of buildable land?
Big, oh, this one's way over.
Because I never knew that until came here tonight and you guys were talking about it. And I was like, that's interesting. And who determines that?
That's what we're trying to figure out, the engineers, right? So we all seem to be on the same page relative with the numbers and things. So
That does this property have to have that same?
It wouldn't be here if we didn't need it.
I'm looking at the topo.
are you questioning it? Is that?
Yeah. That swamp is huge. That thing is not small.
I'm looking at the topo and it already looks as though the land between the swamp and you, I can't tell which way.
It slopes down.
It slopes down.
So it does slope down.
As soon as you get past that tote road, it goes right
Yeah.
downhill.
So it's,
So when it rains, the pond rises and overflows.
because it looks like between the swamp and the proposed house on the right, there's a large flat area.
Correct. The upper house is flat. That's dry, that's high and dry over there.
So when he goes for a building permit, the code enforcement or building inspector is gonna make sure that he doesn't drain on his property anyway, because by law, like I said, by law, he can't drain on his property any more than already does. Even when we do subdivisions or site plans, when we do drainage reports, we can't. And that's why we have detention ponds and everything, because we can't let any water off that lot that already exists. We have to
You can't
determine
create
where.
more.
Huh?
You
But
can't.
that also, begs the question is, when do they determine the highest point of that?
Well, they have rain.
Well, that has nothing, the highest, the swamp has no bearing on it. The only thing that bears on it is the impervious that he's creating with his roof. So he's gotta,
He's gonna have to redirect all that impervious somewhere else.
yeah, not to,
So
it has to
whether
go,
he builds that driveway up
Right.
where that tote road is and builds a dam where it's overflowing.
But,
And
but
then
that's my
direct it.
point, is where is he gonna drain it? There is no.
If it's high
way
enough,
to
it's gonna drain back into the pond.
No, it's not, but it's not.
No way that it's gonna go back in there. There is no
That,
way.
that land does this. The swamp is up here.
The tote road is right there by the swamp. where
Correct. It's lower than the swamp.
Right,
And
Only
and
by-
it's
by
flooded.
what, 4
It's
feet?
mud. It's mud. It's
4
like a
feet?
foot of mud in that, on that tote road. From the
when
water
we
coming
talk,
out of
when
that
we
swamp.
talk tote road, we talking existing drive?
That's a tote road.
yeah,
not
well,
an
it was the
existing
drive that went out to the camp.
The tote road. There's actually a
Yeah,
tree right in
it-
front of it falling down, so.
Right now, it's not much of anything.
I took pictures before I came, but I don't know if you guys want to look at them.
So if that swamp grows, raises, starts heading downhill, it's just gonna go right over that tote road.
Yes,
That tote road
Now,
is not gonna stop it.
no,
It's gonna just keep going.
correct.
to
but
the
if he
neighbor.
builds that driveway up that well,
Correct. There's a lot of fill though. You're talking 6 feet, 8 feet. They'd have to build that up to keep that swamp from overflowing. And if that's what they're gonna do, that's great. Let me see the plans and I'll, we'll be fine with it. But I just don't see that. I don't see how they're gonna do that.
Right, not to.
You can come
I
over
know
my
exactly
house and
where
I'll
it's
show you. We can walk the trail
This-
together.
this Subdivision. I mean, it's a lot line.
Well, it's a lot, just breaking into
I mean,
two.
this is the
pieces.
building right now, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm all with you, but
Yeah,
don't get ahead of ourselves.
as far as,
I mean, right now it's,
well,
I mean, it's a
ain't we here
subdivided
to,
lot.
ain't we
It's-
here to say we can subdivide it and build on it?
Build
We're just here to talk about
with that,
This is just separating the.
correct.
You just. put
His
something in-
intention is to build.
With,
I know his
We're not-
intention.
Where you want to build doesn't reflect where, I'm just showing you that. you can't put
Guaranteed,
it-
he's gonna wanna put it, I'm just telling you, I know the property, I've been living next to it 25 years. If he moves it further out back, it's all rock and ledge. Just saying. It's either he builds where the wetland is, or he doesn't build at all. So,
If he didn't subdivide it, where would he build the house?
on the pot, what he just said, the pot that's high and dry.
On the left.
Yes. That spot is high and dry. There's no wet at all there. It actually falls right back to the swamp, so it's above it.
All right, that being said.
I mean,
Why- why is- why
I'm
does
not gonna
that-
like say they shouldn't split the property, that's fine. I'm just here to say where they wanna put the house is ridiculous. And I just think it's gonna cause issues and
that,
unless he's got a plan, like he said, if he's gonna build it up 10 feet, then okay, I get it, but
that lot line comes down and goes like this, then goes back. Which precludes that large flat area. And that's just saying is higher than the marsh?
the next upper part for the second piece of
Right
property
here.
is higher
This
than
is
the
high and
marsh.
dry.
Yes.
Right.
This
But-
is low.
But here is a large flat area next, adjacent to the swamp. So this line goes like that, like that. If this line, did this lot need to have that line
The
to get?
lot, I wish I
Yeah.
had,
To get
Yes, I had to do that in order to get the contiguous.
contiguous, okay, all right. But I'm gonna say, because if that, I mean, if that thing went the other way, you could put that.
yeah,
house
further
over-
up, it's dry. There's about, like, the 2 acre lot, I think is the smaller lot is the one he's proposing up above, am I correct?
So up
above
here
the-
it's dry? Is that what we're saying in the,
No, he's saying it's flat. Oh, he's
and that's,
right here by the pond, it's relatively flat.
yeah,
And when it overflows right here at the road or the drive and
okay.
then it goes down.
There's actually 2 spots where it overflows.
this has never been declared a floodplain.
Nope. No.
Doesn't
Your-
mean that
your-
it isn't.
your-
Well, I know.
Your flood maps suck. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Belknap
Go.
County is the only one they haven't updated yet. From the 70s.
So basically, I just want to make it.
Well, you
that
can't,
I-
you can't
I
determine
think
the
that
flood
lot-
zone by beavers.
That lot's gonna be an issue, that's all I'm saying. Unless he plans on doing something about it, but.
He's gonna have to address it when he gets his building permit. And also DES, when he goes for his septic. He's gonna have to, address where the water goes, because he can't have drainage going on your septic.
Yeah,
Or in your neighbor's yard,
Well,
right?
so case before us here, we've got a subdivision. The same thing as this.
Sounded very familiar.
Well, just saying,
Listen.
I'm just saying, they're both subdivisions. Now, those people have got to have a plan for every drop of water that they've displaced,
Well, they have to go for an AOT.
huh?
They have to go for an AOT permit.
You don't think they wouldn't have to do that if they were short of 100,000 square feet?
They would still have to prove.
To
You,
us?
you, like I said, you can't dump water off the lot any more than
Right.
already exists.
That's a town regulation, yeah.
You put a road in, you put houses in, you're gonna increase that runoff and you have to do something with it.
So I'm just asking, do we need to have that part of this plan?
When you get your building permit is when you do it. Because the building inspector will sit there and say, you can put it in here. As a condition of a building permit, that drainage is a concern and needs to be addressed.
Has that been discussed with the builder?
What's that?
Has that been discussed with the builder?
He
about-
knows, and that's why I said he was gonna divert that water along the driveway. He'll get an engineer and the engineer will get it back in the pond. The engineer will tell him how much fill he has to bring in. The house is gonna be a dam.
I think they call
If he
that. drainage.
if he builds it where he's saying it drains off, it's gonna stop at the house.
I think they call that a drainage study.
A what?
A drainage study?
Again, how can you do that with a beaver? Take the beaver out, all the beavers out, it's gonna dry up.
I agree there.
And we did that in Gilmington. We got the beavers out and now that where the beaver pond is a big dry field.
Sounds to me like a cooperative effort.
But the problem is that the beaver dam is on a parcel that's not even.
He cooperates.
Well, the guy in the back probably doesn't want wetlands either.
Yeah.
But
KLF.
either way,
Have
whether
you
he,
ever talked to them or you don't even know who it is, I guess?
KLS, you got 30 acres.
Yeah,
The guy that owned it before me told me go over and shoot the beavers whenever you want. I'm like, I don't feel like shooting the beavers.
yeah.
And it's not what I do. I'm not a freaking hunter. Sorry.
The people in Gilmington had to hire a beaver trapper. And when I was doing the lot, he was out there like 3-4 times.
Yeah.
Each time you had a beaver.
we do. Well, sounds to me like, it's a simple subdivision.
So I guess as for me, like when do I know what's gonna happen up there? Like, what's their plan? How can I get involved so I know
Well,
what their plan is and how they're gonna divert the water so it doesn't come on my property?
you have you pick up the phone and you call the code official,
Who?
building inspector.
Well, like I said, you can put a condition that says this lot has a drainage concern and that in order to get a building permit, you have to address that.
Without an engineer's drainage study, it's an opinion. So the builder's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna address this, I'll take care of it. But now he goes up and looks at it and says, that ain't gonna do it. That's when he brings the building inspector.
Right.
So,
But if he has to address that drainage, he'll get an engineer to address it.
okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Could we put that as a stipulation? Cause he's getting this to build a house. He ain't just splitting it just for the heck of it. He's doing it to build. He's already built 2 houses down 100 yards down the road, so. Right, exactly.
Can we stipulate?
I just don't think it's fair my property could get compromised so he can make money, so. Just saying.
Or approving the subdivision?
Necessarily because,
It complies with all the regulations.
you have to do a drainage design and then submit it to the town engineer.
Prior to the building permit, can we do it that way?
So your minor application process
Yeah.
does not require any drainage features or stormwater or any of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
But you could put it as a condition of a
Of the building,
permit.
right, which takes place anyways.
Yeah, I mean, if they're just splitting the property up, you're not gonna make them put a drainage system,
It's,
but he's planning on putting a house there. So,
But the building inspector can make him put drainage in.
Now, did you say you
Right.
did this in Gilmanton and they took a few times, but you got rid of the beaver? So there is a possible means to the end.
No, yes, there is.
So I think it goes right back to a cooperation effort. That is the best solution, is to get rid of the problem.
But you still have to, you're still gonna have to design some kind of drainage on that lot.
Yeah,
The
that's,
property owner doesn't want to do it.
Well, he's not gonna want his house to blow away either. That's what I'm saying.
he just happens, his property just happens to be on that last section where the dam is. He owns hardly any of that swamp. Most of that swamp is owned by Bethel. But where they dam it.
Damn it.
Yes.
Dam is over the line.
Yes, by law. It's not.
well, no, I think he's already given him permission to do it.
No, he hasn't, because the dam is over here.
No, the guy out back gave you permission to get rid
If
of.
I needed to, yes.
If he needs to, he can get rid of the beavers. So the problem can go away. It's a
Well,
co-op.
sorry. The previous owner said I could get rid of the beavers. He said I could go on his property and knock down the dam. So I'm sure he would be fine if we did, but why is that gonna be on me to do that? Is that fair?
I think the part of cooperation, nobody's getting. I mean, you're all, both of yous have a good
So,
reason.
Let
to
me
have
just,
that
let me just,
certain-
can I
this
just
is
state,
overflow.
hold on. I'm not the one building the house.
It really should be on the. building.
I don't, why should I even have to worry about that?
Exactly.
My concern is just don't flood my property any more than it already does get flooded.
So
And
basically, all he
and for
has to do
them
is
starting
say,
to dig up there and changing the landscape, it's gonna get worse. It's not gonna get better.
The onus is on the builder.
oh, for sure, in the end. I
I'm
mean,
not
you can't-
asking them to build a house, because if he asked me, I'd say, stay the hell out of my neighborhood. That's what I'd be telling him. Sorry. You know,
All right.
so.
The only thing is I don't think you can impose upon the builder that it could overflow.
Oh, it will.
No, you just say,
I can attest to it. I'll talk to him.
Fab knows it rises and flows over. And he's already aware that there's a drainage problem. And he's not gonna build and have that overflow and wash his house away. He's gonna sit there and do something to make sure that that water doesn't go that way. And
Which could be-
by implementing a condition that when he applies for his building permit, that he has a drainage plan done.
Can he technically fill in part of that swamp if he wanted to?
No,
I don't think so.
I'm just asking. Quick fix, mound it up, build the house, get out of town. See you later.
Only the
I'm
beavers,
just asking. I'm just.
only the beavers can fill it in.
no, beavers need to go.
That's what I see. Stick of dynamite. Guns. All right, so
Right.
that
Anyway,
that's
that's
fine.
my concern. I mean, I just,
sounds like a good suggestion. Part of the approval is the builder, owner builder to provide a drainage plan.
if you.
Or address the drainage problem. When you have to address the drainage problem before you get a building permit.
Yeah, or
Created,
address, I said dredge.
created from the swamp overflow. We gotta word this a certain way, I'm assuming, right? I mean,
All he has to address is what he creates, a problem that he creates
how do we determine that?
by the square footage of his roof
Well, I
and
know,
his
but
driveway.
I mean, I'm just
He has to
saying,
he has to
he could
accommodate.
punch a hole in the side of that swamp and be like, that was already there. I'm just saying, who's gonna hold his feet to the fire that he does it right?
Sounds silly. What he has to do in his drainage plan is adequate for the square footage of the roof and the driveway. He's got to say where that water's going. Because remove those two from that lot of land,
Okay.
that water's going wherever it's going now.
But that's my concern, is the water's going where it's going now. How do you know he's not gonna divert that water towards my property that's coming off their roof line? What's protecting me? Is what I'm saying.
The condition that he has to address the drainage before he gets a building permit.
I understand what you're saying. The existing problem is there, whether the house is there or not. But
Well, if he
who's-
doesn't build
what's
a
gonna-
house, he doesn't have to do anything.
what's gonna keep him from adding on to that problem?
Well, like I said,
Right?
he
I
has,
mean,
he has to accommodate, he has to collect the water that,
anybody can aim roof coming off. I'm gonna aim it down the hill here. Oh, it's a neighbor's house. Just saying, it's not gonna get better if he does nothing about that swamp. That swamp stays the way it is. It's not gonna get better. It's gonna get worse. Unless he redoes the whole lot has to be built up to make it not a problem. I doubt he has that plan, because that seems like that'd be a lot
I
of.
still say the only water he has to take care of is the water that he's displaced.
And where is that gonna go?
No, about that. I mean, as a neighbor or an abutter, he can't wind up creating a situation that exacerbates the problem for the adjacent.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm worried about. It could get worse, not better.
So I mean, what could be subject to?
What
is
covers
the
me, I
building
guess, is
permit.
what.
The building permit could be subject to ensuring that the abutter's property is not flooded by this as well, right?
Well, that goes in,
It's in this section 359. That's the zoning ordinance.
By
So he
default,
would
I'm
have
just
to
in
abide
there.
by the
Right.
zoning ordinance, like everyone else does.
Except that, how does he know when he's gonna pull the building permit and make certain that, his property's protected?
Unfortunately, that's, you don't know.
Good luck, Mr.
Yeah,
Cantley.
Yeah,
You build an ark.
yeah, because there's no public notice, for building permits.
Problematic.
So at some point, will I know their plan and come to another meeting? We can discuss this again, or how does this work?
And once it gets out of here, it's out of here, and that's the problem.
They can just do whatever they want from there, gung ho.
except to make it so more water drains on you than already does. Already
I
water
know,
drains.
how do I
Stay in good
prove,
contact with the
how do I
building
prove what
inspector.
goes on my property now and does not go on my property now? How do you prove that?
Well, if he makes this big trench, you got the pond here and his house is here. If he makes a trench that goes directly to you, that's when
the
you call
only
the building
place-
inspector.
Where he wants to put the house, that's his only option. The road is not an option. To go back into the swamp is what are you gonna put a sub pump in? What pumps uphill? I mean, you know what I mean? Where he's building a house is ridiculous. It really is, but that's what they do now. They build houses wherever they can stick a bulldozer in. I get it. That's just what they do.
Is any of the right lot a wetland?
What's that?
You have the two lots, the lot that you have on the right here. Is any of that wetland?
The only wetlands on that lot, on this lot is right there,
Right there where you marked it.
and a
Okay, thank you.
little bit over here. That's it on the 2 acre lot.
So that kind of half circle, that goes with the lot on the right? Is your line?
The what?
This is the split line, right?
Yep, that's the line.
Thanks. So there's not much wetland on it at all,
On where?
on the lot on the right, the lot,
I see.
Here,
what I'm hearing is
This is,
this is
yeah.
the split, right?
This
That's,
is my house, yeah.
that's your
so
house.
This is the swamp, all this.
And this is the lot that's gonna be new, or the two lots are gonna be this side of this and this side.
So
That's all.
what I'm seeing is where this drains is exactly where they got it marked. It drains right here and right here.
But this is the only part that's wet right now, or considered wetland. That's what you're saying.
I guess, this is the swamp. That's all I know. This whole area is the swamp.
But that all stays on the left pretty much.
Yes.
Thank you.
I also heard that that existing drive that's there is just the sheer mud.
Just the tote road and it's,
It's
not- you could
Not
drive
gonna
in
be
there with
used as the
if you had a,
driveway.
if you had a four-wheel
He's
drive.
gonna
you
have
could
to
drive.
put in a new driveway.
The driveway, yeah.
So it's not,
He will raise it.
There's no real option but to bring in a bunch of fill, it sounds like to me. You know?
He doesn't want, he's not gonna want his house to be flooded out either.
Yeah.
So he's gonna address that drainage anyway. But if the building department is aware that there's a condition of approval for the subdivision that the drainage is addressed before a building permit is issued.
so does he like propose it to the town if he's gonna have a drainage
He
system?
just goes to the building inspector.
Which isn't qualified,
That,
which isn't qualified to do a drainage.
no, but he'll have an engineer do a drainage plan. Erosion control, all that.
How do I get that information?
When the excavator gets on the lot, go down to the building inspector.
So can we make it the condition of approval for the
But-
building permit subject to approving the subdivision?
You can also put in there that when he applies for that building permit, that the neighbor is notified. You can do anything you want in writing.
Right.
I mean, that would be nice, cause then I'll talk to the building inspector myself and ask questions.
All right, so here's the issue. The builder has to have a drainage study. Somebody's gotta approve that. So it's gotta go to the town engineer. The building inspector can't say, oh yeah, that looks good. There's a bunch of numbers there. It's gotta be somebody that, an engineer has to approve what is drawn to say, yes, that will work, or that doesn't have a chance in hell of working. That's.
Okay.
I don't think I have a chance in hell working unless they build that ground up. Where else is it gonna go?
That's for.
You know what I'm saying?
That's for the
engineers.
engineering
It's
study.
natural, water wants to run downhill.
That's the engineers. The builder has to hire an engineer to say where the water's going, how it's gonna be dealt with. And then that has to be given to the town's engineer
Yep,
to qualify.
okay,
That's the process we do
yep.
on every case.
If he has to build it up 20 feet, then he has to build it up 20 feet, right?
If that's,
To get proper drainage. Right?
if that's what.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, if that's what if that's what the first engineer says, okay, well, the only way that I can deal with this is do this. And then this engineer is gonna look at it and say,
Well,
no, I think you're absolutely right.
So I'm sure the town's not gonna say, hey, we'll be right up there to dig a nice culvert alongside the whole road so you can put your house in, right? Cause it's ledge. I mean, I'm just saying, if he can't drain it at the road is what I'm getting at. He can't drain it on my property. So,
How about this? How about if we just say that, you know, if this were to be approved, that two conditions of approval, that there's a building permit, before a building permit is issued, that a drainage engineering study needs to be completed. And two, that the adjacent landowner needs to be informed prior to the building permit being issued. That cover it?
I don't know as though he needs to be informed. I think that they need to,
I would just wanna know what the plan is, that's all. I mean, I'm not gonna go up there and tell them what to do.
I think the danger is that, you know, you can get a building permit pulled and he'll never know about it until the guys.
just said, when you see the dozer, go to the
Well-
building department.
Late in the game at that.
No, because it's all been determined.
But if you don't,
The-
you
the
can't get a
drainage-
building permit without a drainage
That's right.
plan.
The engineer came in and
But what
determined.
forces them to have? a
What's that?
drainage plan?
He is, I'm not totally happy.
Well, that's the way it rolls. The engineer designs the site. The town's engineer either approves it or disapproves. Simple as that.
But are they taking into consideration my property?
They're taking into everything in consideration. That he cannot make more water go on your property than.
By
goes-
law?
By law, by town
Okay.
law. He
So can
can't
I
make
go up
more,
and take pictures of that place before they start building?
Do it.
do whatever you
Okay.
want.
I'm gonna have full footage video. Okay,
Big time.
You know, that's
so I know
fine.
what the heck they're doing, what they're changing, and
But you're gonna take those photos and you're gonna argue with engineers. Have a good
Oh,
time.
no, I
have a
won't
good
argue.
Time with that.
no, I wouldn't argue with them. I just tell them, explain to me how you're gonna make water go uphill.
Now
Without a
that
pump.
you won't have that opportunity.
I'm just,
That opportunity won't come to you.
I wish you knew the area because you'd be totally understand my concern. There is nowhere to drain that. Any water, there's nowhere to drain it.
Maybe that's what the engineer's gonna come up with.
Let's hope.
A building, we're gonna give him a subdivision. He's gonna have two lots and then the engineer's gonna say, can't be done. So he's got two lots and he can't build on one of them.
Okay.
That.
No, as long as you're telling me they can't by law drain anything onto my property, that makes me feel.
Any
better.
more than already
Now, how
happened.
do you determine that then? Come on.
Just to do a drainage study.
How do you determine that?
Okay, well, we're not gonna, we've.
No, I know, I'm just
We're
saying.
done with that. So I'm
I'm
gonna
just
look
saying.
for motion.
And
We-
you,
we
and you
just-
can't go by the
Oh,
summary we had 2 years ago, because that was an anomaly.
I'm gonna open this up to the public. No,
He
he
is
is
the
not this
public.
one.
I'm an engineer.
I thought you were an engineer. We've been arguing with people all night. It just, okay, I think,
Can I just get Doug's two conditions
Well,
that
they,
you?
they
Just
shut
wanna
down my
ensure-
second suggestion.
Okay, so the
I
first
think
one,
we're subject to a condition of approval or the building permit will be to conduct an engineering study prior to the building permit being issued.
Drainage study.
drainage study
Drainage study, excuse me, correct.
that is
Okay.
approved by the town engineer.
and this is gonna be handled by the building department?
Correct.
When he applies for his building permit,
Yeah.
he won't get it unless he has that drainage study.
Yep.
And a drainage plan.
So they're gonna conduct a drainage study.
And plan, I guess, huh?
Well, that's both the same thing, aren't
Yep.
they?
If anybody wants to
Have a
come over my
plan-
house,
plan
check my
showing
house
what they're
out.
gonna-
What the
contours,
remediation is.
proposed
gonna be.
contours,
Yeah, you can do a study and not have a
You-
plan, right?
you know.
So when I see. the
Stay in touch
bulldozer,
with the
I'll go,
building
"Okay."
permit.
Yep.
Building,
I just hope you guys.
No,
We definitely, we understand. I'm not trying to beat you down. I'm just trying to cover both sides. Did you make a motion, Doug?
no, I did not. Just put down what a condition of approval would be.
Would you like to make a
So
motion with your condition?
there we go. I make a motion that we approve P 2502 for the proposed subdivision of tax map 3, lot 2 into 2 lots. One of 5.55 acres and the other of 2.71 acres. With one condition of approval being that before a building permit is issued, that a drainage study and plan be completed.
Can you include all the other conditions?
Along with all the
Precedent.
other conditions precedent.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I haven't been up this late in a long.
This is the longest we've gone in a while.
Right, whole business. I see no old business. New business. Is this one of those VRBO things?
Oh, it's, yeah, the liability waiver.
Yes.
What do we just vote on these? Is that, we pass these along, right?
Right, yeah, because it goes to the selectmen, right?
All right. I motion we pass case P 24-30 or 50 on to the selectmen.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Does everyone approve of the minutes of the December 17th meeting? 2024?
I wasn't there.
Some minutes in my, out of another case. Anyone have issues with minutes? Hearing no issues, I'll make a motion. We approve the planning board minutes of December 17, 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion? All approve? Aye.
Aye.
Abstain? Okay.
There was an addition to,
Oh, the August 24th?
yes.
Yep.
So these the August 20th, 2024 set of minutes, on pages 9 and 10, there were several areas to where, John Cronin was referred to as Mr. Blank. So the question came from the public, wondering if the board would reconsider amending an approved set of minutes to properly state who was present at that meeting.
Was he not noted as present? at
No,
the-
so this Mr. Blank was here, but at a prior case that night. He did not speak any of this. I think it just got,
Mr. Blank wasn't here that night?
he was here that night, but for a different case.
Oh, he wasn't here
Yeah.
for Cherry Valley, he was
Right.
Boransky.
Because so for the first half of this conversation, it reflects it as Mr. Cronin, and then all of a sudden it became Mr. Blank. So it should be
Somehow,
corrected.
somehow it should identify, because he was Mr. Cronin on,
He was
didn't he
Mr. Cronin.
represent two cases that night? But
I-
one case he was Cronin and one case he was Blank, correct?
I'm not sure because that was also another meeting I was not at.
But that's the way the minutes have it written. Because you can tell just by reading the minutes what case you're on.
Right, so Mr. Blank is an engineer from Norway Plains.
Oh, that's not, isn't the lawyer Cronin?
That's Cronin. So in the
You guys
minutes,
following this?
in the minutes, it's wrong.
Yeah, just correct it, right?
And so it should be corrected to state Mr. Cronin and not Mr. Blank.
I would be insulted if that mistake was made and not corrected, I think so. Is it hard to correct it, Jesse?
So, nope, so what you guys should do is you're gonna rescind your motion. So you guys have kind of done this a few times before on other issues. So you're gonna rescind your motion to that approved this set of minutes. So you're all gonna agree that you're gonna rescind this motion.
I'll make a motion to rescind the motion that was made prior to approve those minutes so that we can change them.
I will
Okay.
second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Okay, now now we can discuss the actual changes. So I can point out in line 368, line 372, line 375, line 377, line 381, 384, 387, 391, and 397 all should state Mr. Cronin and not Mr. Blank. And now you guys can make a motion and vote like you normally would.
Just make a motion that you, if you could please make those changes as you just described. On the document. As you just described.
Okay,
I will second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Correspondence for us?
Invoices, Tara Bamford.
Well, first we got the Jillian Burn sort of it.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
The Jillian Burns subdivision has been sold. So the request tonight is there is some existing security funds in place. And that's for the performance. So that was, you know, the construction of the subdivision. So they're looking to get that money back. And in place, the town engineer has prepared an updated bond for the new people, because that security needs to stay in place. So this amount, this $26,260.77 is actually from a report in October, so it's actually a little bit more.
Okay.
So this is actually cash funds that will get returned back to the original developer. And then once the town receives the bond, then that cash will actually get refunded. So then that way we're not left with nothing.
So it's subject to the new owner posting the bond before.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Do we need to approve that? then?
Yeah, so if you guys could make a motion, and like I said, this $26,260.77 is gonna be a little bit
The
more.
higher 'cause of
So you could
interest.
just say with, you know, interest.
So I make a motion that we approve the monies owed, 26,260.77 plus interest back to the Julian Burns subdivision.
Is that? I'm sorry. Oh, so that's money, she's getting the 26 back. That's not the new bond.
Correct,
Correct.
right, yeah, they're gonna get the cash back and the new bond will go in place.
And I guess I should say, subject to the new owner securing a bond to cover the future liability.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so now this is where the comes in.
Yeah. So I just wanted to just let you guys know where we were at with that last warrant article. So that assistance that Tara gave us, it just left us with $110, which doesn't really do much of anything. It'll probably just end up going back into the general fund. That was all. Just wanted you guys to just know where the things were at.
Any correspondence for us?
No. That's it. That's all she wrote.
Or information on state permit applications? All right. I'll look for a motion.
The motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
and Discussion.
Seconded
carried.
that?
Me. Oh.
Tom, okay.
Masterfully done.